One sec. Sorry, there's something that's coming through somewhere.
Yeah, the cameras are a bit off for Val and
sorry, the
Cat.
camera.
Hello. It's alright, it's the power of my ego.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to do the intro as I do the cameras.
Oh, that's gonna go great.
Unless anyone would like to. And welcome to Mage, Somnambulist, episode number 6. Everything is fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh my gosh, my face is super zoomed in.
I know, sorry, I'm fixing it. There we go.
You're doing great with the multitasking.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mage Somnambulist, episode number 6. As you can see, we are fortunately not joined by Vandy this week, but that's fine. Intros and stuff. Every time the cameras are a little bit off or I mess up these things, I get very distracted and I forget the plan I had for the intro. So, yes, there is places you can go if you want. For example, there's Patreon. If you want to support the show or shows upcoming, then you could go to Patreon, support with a little bit of money, and help me pay the cost and help me do more shows and get all the art and overlays and things I need for those. Additionally, if you want to be notified when we do shows, you can go to the Twitter, you can go to the Discord. It is announced there when we're going live and when the shows are, so go check both of those things out. Aside from that, I believe, yes, down below in this live stream and in the YouTube video itself will be links to everyone who's involved in the show. You can go find them in their places when they stream or anything that they do, and you can follow them and keep up with them as well. Oh, yes, sorry, there is things I can talk about. Good. There is a, or for anyone who involved in the Patreon, that I did release the Dragon Riders rule set. It's very simple. It just gives you an outline on how to play the game. But if you're interested in it, if you're a patron, any tier of patron, you can go to the Patreon there, download it and check it out. It has the rule set that I built for the show. Keep in mind, it is designed for a show, so it's very narrative, but it tells you all the details of the different colors of dragons, what they do, the different types, and would allow you to play your own game of Dragon Riders if you wanted to. Although I don't know that anyone would want to actually get into a game where they play both a dragon and a dragon rider. It's quite complicated and confusing, but there you go, if you want. Additionally, for those of you who have been waiting for it, the, let's call it module, I guess, for drifting is coming soon, so you'll get all the lore, all the details of the game I made for drifting, and if you want, you'll be able to play a game in the same universe. Again, that's going to be coming out on Patreon, so if you're a patron, it's good times for you. You're getting lots of sheepies, strange brain thoughts. Aside from that, I think next up we should go into the intro. Which, just like a little recap of what happened before. So let's switch over to something a little more appropriate, which I believe would be this one. There we go. So, as I just remember exactly what happened last week. So last week, Sesha and Nell, essentially, while doing some practicing and figuring out their abilities and their powers, were met with a visitor to the house. Someone called Greg, who said that he worked for Guinevere. That she wasn't completely impressed with what happened to Kira and just in general. So they kind of took him around the house a little bit. He investigated the little tear in, let's call it, reality, and they discovered that Kira's spirit friend had maybe escaped out into Russia somewhere, broken out of the window, and yeah. So there was no sign of him, but there were signs of maybe a struggle or just destruction, unsure. At a certain point, Greg declared that it was time for them to go to their meeting. And they all piled into the mystery machine and headed to a warehouse. A few people moving around and doing things. Both Sesha and Nell wandered in with Greg to the warehouse and were presented with Greg wandering on to a rack which was filled with people who were just kind of like hanging there, kind of inert. And he stepped up and got himself, you know, kind of inert himself, just hung himself up on the racks, and they heard a clapping and a voice that said, well, you've really fucked this up, haven't you? So you find yourselves sitting in very comfortable leather chairs in front of a desk. Very nice, kind of like, this whole office you're in is pristine. It is fancy, new, modern, shiny, impressive, expensive looking. There's like a big, like, aquarium behind Rasputin with all kind of exotic fishes swimming around, and outside to your, both of your right, maybe to Rasputin's left, is one of those big, like, sets of windows where it's just massive panes of glass looking out over a city of some kind.
Ah, come in. Have a seat. Have a seat. Would you like tea or some description of beverage of some description? I see.
I'll have tea.
Tea? Yes.
Yeah.
Of Baba Yaga's tea, yes?
Yes.
Oh, don't worry. We can sort that right out for you. And yourself? Young Nell, was it?
I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, not a problem. Buzz through to one of the lackeys. Greg, will you bring a tea of Baba Yaga's variety, please? That would be wonderful. Thank you. Oh, and I will have an Earl Grey. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
And the just comes through on the loudspeaker, or like, you know, the intercom, like, right you are, sir.
I like people called Greg, can you tell? So, here we are. This wonderful place. Look, beautiful view. Do you like it? Do you like what I've done with the place?
Are all of them named Greg?
Oh, no. Just a lot of them. I find it easier to remember all of their names if they're all very similar. You understand?
That makes sense.
Doesn't it?
Yes,
And
I
if
mean,
they
I mean,
think
why,
their
why, why
name-
bother? Yeah, exactly. Why bother calling them by a different name when you could just call them one, and they all answer at the
Exactly.
same time? Yeah, it's very convenient, actually.
And if they all think they're called Greg, then it makes it all worthwhile. I don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
Perfect. So here we are. You've come at my request, which I very much appreciate. It was a little tricksome, I must admit. I have to confess that this is not how I really wanted to do it, but there was a necessity for it. I needed to know what I was getting into before I brought you here. You understand?
Yes and no. I mean, well, what exactly are we doing here if our teacher is being, I can only imagine, horrifically tortured at the moment with our mentors and the rest of the council?
I'm
Yes.
sorry. Am I the only one who's still stuck on the whole, hangar full of people thing? I seem to be the only one who's bothered by that.
Nell, you're talking to somebody who also deals in voodoo dolls. There's nothing really particularly odd about this for me.
To be fair, Sasha, there's
They're
a
just-
difference between having a few voodoo dolls around and having a hangar full of people on.
They're not there all of the
they're-
time.
And they're not really, I wouldn't really say they're just the people. They're more like dolls, just with flesh, right?
They're people.
It's a pretty accurate assumption. I mean, they are technically people. You are correct. And don't worry, I take very, very good care of them. They were friends. Well, they were people that I found. People, charitable individuals who were living on the street, had a bad luck of life. And in return for their services to me, I provide them with comfort. Yes, it is true that some of the time while they are working for me, they stay on the rack so that I have them available whenever I need them, but they're all very comfortable.
So you let them hang there until you need them.
Yes, they
Only
just
during
hang
their
out.
shifts.
Just
They
hang
have
out.
shifts. They then go off and do their own little thing. It's not an issue. Did you just say hang?
Yes, they just hang about, right? They just hang out until you give them commands.
200 years and I have still not got hold of this dad jokes understanding. Good lord. So, yes. I mean, if you have any further questions, I am more than happy to answer. I mean, after all, if things go hopefully as they're meant to, then perhaps I may be helping teach you, which would be nice.
Helping teach us to put people on hangars.
I mean,
No.
want to
She
get a
gets a little-
little bit further down the line than that, you know?
She gets a little bitey when she's
No,
uncomfortable.
you've got to understand, Sasha. Like, for people like us, you have been brought up in a certain way with Baba Yaga, yes? Baba Yaga has a
Yes.
certain way of doing things, a certain, understanding of the frailty of mortality. Whereas young Nell here, young Nell understands mortality as people, as individual persons. The older you get, the more you realize the frailty of these things. And also, it needs to be said, the less you start to care. I myself am still relatively of the younger ages in comparison to most of the council, as it were. I still feel that. And like I said, the people that are downstairs on my rack, they are people that I have shown charity to. People that were down and out, had nowhere else to go, at the end of their wits, and I gave them purpose. Whereas some of the older generations of the council, they struggle sometimes.
Well, you know how Baba is. She's very independent.
She certainly is. That is true.
As you're talking, the door quietly clicks open. You know, you're still talking, still like having this conversation. But Greg walks in, and just for the both of you, because you've met Greg before, this isn't Greg. This is Greg, but it's not Greg. A lot bigger. Got like a partially broken nose, like a lot of kind of looks like he could have been a boxer or something. Shaved head, big kind of like stocky build. Sets down very delicately a teacup with saucer and teaspoon in front of you, Sesha, and then one in front of you, Gregory. And
Thank you.
as he does, you feel a request for further orders.
Oh, no, that will be all. Thank you very much, Greg. I very much appreciate that. If you could go and tend to whatever it is that you tend to when I'm not needing you.
Again, without talking, you feel an inquiry, the rack.
Yes, that sounds ideal. If you could give it a clean down before you settle into it, that would be wonderful.
Greg bows his head and walks out without a word. Door, click, behind him.
Oh. Sometimes they can be so wooden, you know? Almost like a puppet.
Almost like that's their fault.
No, it is not their fault. By any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, what did you prefer? Do you prefer me kick them all out and have them on the streets? Filling their veins full of God knows what? Or do they have a nice, comfortable time? And they have shifts? Go home to a nice, comfortable house? Have lives? The only thing is that when their shift is up, they come here. Spend some time on the rack. Do what I require of them. Very easy life for many.
So your rack is a 9 to 5 for
Yes.
people who are down on their luck.
I'm a businessman. At the end of the day, there's no point in creating jobs for people that already have jobs. These people are down on luck. I take them off the street. I give them something to live for. Give them a home of their very own.
People who are easy to manipulate.
Exactly. And I'm not going to try and deny that. Why would I? Manipulation is part of what we do. At the end of the day, as you grow older, and you will grow older, you will learn that manipulation is part of our existence, a part of our survival, especially in this day and age of technology. Do you know how hard it is to change your face, change your name, change exactly who you are across the entire network of the internet? For a variety of different people with digital phones and understandings of things, staying incognito for centuries is much harder than it used to be. Whereas for these people, they do not know their boss. They know that I exist, but they cannot remember my name. They cannot remember my face. They come in, they do their job, they get paid, they have somewhere to live, they have a purpose of life. And I do not have any inquiring inquisitions into my affairs. Can you understand the pros and the cons to this, you see?
Greg told us something about having died 6 times. Is
Oh.
that normal as well under your employee?
Well, it really depends on the situation. I mean, you cannot deny. People are after us. Not only those of mages who may not agree with the way that the council do things, but also, well, werewolves, vampires, other creatures of the dark, you know? We are not alone here. And let's not lie about this. Having been through what I have been through, and I'm sure you've probably heard the rumors of me being stabbed and shot and poisoned and hung, I'd much rather not go through it again. So if it means a choice of one of those going through it and me bringing them back and making sure their memories are rearranged so they don't remember a thing, then so be it.
Yes, how was the hanging? The most recent one, anyways.
Tight, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Baba says that, you know, people who get hanged and come back have really bad, phantom pains.
There are certain times, for sure. Usually when it's cold, when it reminds me of the time. That was the, like you say, it's like phantom limb syndrome, or when you break a leg and you have very cold time, it gets colder in that broken bone. Similar sort of scenario, you know?
Interesting.
Now, do you have any questions before we get down to the real predicament?
Yeah, you never answered Sasha's question about why you took us here.
Oh, I will answer that now. Well, basically, you are in a very difficult situation here, and I have, though it may have been deceptive, I have done my best to, help where I can, to say the least. The situation is quite difficult, really, and, well, how do I put this? First things first, I need to assess and what it is that you can do. I wish to instruct you and help with the instruction that my dear associate Shelby has started on, shall we say. From what I saw through Greg's eyes, I was a little less than impressed, shall we say. The control, the understanding of what it is that we do, and the mage work in and of itself was lackluster. But then I understand it's a problematic situation, and you are all very emotional about the loss of your friend. Speaking of which, your friend, Kira, wasn't it? That has the council in quite the uproar, to say the least. Now I have spoken with your remaining mentors there, Baba Yaga and Nell. It was Merlin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course. Well, I've spoken with them, and they are rooting for you. To use a common phrase, they are hoping that this mild mishap can be looked over and passed on, and you can continue training from Shelby and other such mentors like myself, Merlin, Baba Yaga, etc. However, naturally, Guinevere is quite upset with the entire scenario.
I don't know why she actually gets a say in this. I mean, to be honest, it was Kira's fault in the first place.
Well, as I'm sure that Greg said to you, in which I'm definitely sure, they don't really look at it as one person's fault. You are a class, you are a team, you are a unit.
True,
If
but the
one
council
person-
is, council as a whole, right? So wouldn't it just be,
More than
like
Guinevere.
2 people against 1? Yes, exactly.
Well, that is the
Three.
situation as it currently stands. Myself and Merlin, Baba Yaga, Morgana, for example, we are all of a similar situation where we wish you to continue your training in with Shelby. However, Guinevere is very powerful and has a lot of influence with the council, for they are not the only council members. There's myself as well. There's Art, Maud, like Theo, for example, the Baron, which the less said about him, the better. Like, there are other members of the council. Unfortunately, Guinevere is very angry and is convincing the council that the best thing to do is to split you up, and have you confined to private tutelage. Now that, having experienced it myself, is less than ideal. Trust me, you will learn much more from each other than you will in those ways. So
Haven't you suggested that maybe she be, confined in a little box so she can get over her little her temper tantrum?
are you saying to put Guinevere put Guinevere in a box?
I mean, Kira's in a box right now, right?
No. Kira is in the spirit realm.
Essentially a
God
box.
knows what is going on there. But it perhaps is worse than a box. But I would love, in fact, to be quite honest with you, I would love to sit back and watch you try and put Guinevere in a box. I have done
I wouldn't
many
be trying to
things.
do that.
I have done many things in my time, but even I would not be that stupid. There's
Think
only
what
so
it-
many times you can die, friends.
As a very quick note, Nell and Sesha, could you please roll me your resolve combined with your, I think we will say in this instance, empathy, please. So for Nell, I believe that's 2 dice.
Yes.
And for Sesha, I believe that is 4 dice.
I have that much? Okay.
Okay, empathy girl.
She has no empathy. She just has some resolve.
Oh yeah,
resolve.
I got no empathy, just resolve. There you go. Empathy? Who knows her?
Resolve, who knows her?
2 successes. And no successes for Nell. Sesha, something in that conversation, like tickled your brain. It's gone now, but there was a name mentioned that you don't remember being mentioned before. Morgan. But it doesn't stick out to you anymore or anything. It's just at the moment, when he was talking about the council members and Morgan, it just kind of. But who knows why?
I think Nell will look at Sasha for a moment, and then give like a sideways look back at Rasputin and say, "So what you're basically saying is that Guinevere is more powerful than you, Merlin, and Baba Yaga.
Certainly more powerful than me. Baba
All
Yaga.
3 of you together, because that's what this is, isn't it?"
No, this is politics. You teenagers, you think you can solve everything by putting people in boxes and shouting and screaming and smashing chairs. No.
Baba puts people in a volcano and burns them up in a fire. I don't see.
Yes, but she
I
does
don't
not
see
put
how
the
that's any
council
different.
in the volcano.
Gregory, as you're talking, and both of you will see this, there's like a little red light that starts to like flash in his face. On your intercom, there's just essentially like a call waiting or someone buzzing you. It's not.
Is it a private call or is it just on like the public line?
It's just it's from your inner network of, you know, basically like people you buzz to get to do things and things like that. This one's your secretary, Greg.
I'll pick up an earphone and just like plug it in and then answer it. Excuse me. Yes?
Hello, sir. Just gotten word from Miss Cleo. She has requested 50 extra, people.
For goodness sake.
She says she would be willing to support you and your friends in the upcoming vote, regarding the, children.
And hold on a moment. I'll put the earphone back down and go public with it, like put it on the speaker and say, just repeat what you said there, please.
Of course, sir. And for both of you, this is a very distinctly female voice. Miss Cleo has contacted you. She needs 50 more people in her endeavors, and she has expressed willingness to pledge her vote with you and the others in the upcoming vote about the children and what to do with them.
Thank you very much. This is a difficult one for me. Send her 40 and tell her that after she has voted correctly, I will send her the remaining 10.
Of course, sir.
The usual paperwork will be appropriate. Thank you very much.
I'll see it done,
Now
sir.
hang up. You see, it's all politics. It's all trade and understanding. It's not people putting each other in boxes. It's about votes and bureaucracy and all of that. No. It's very awesome. This is the reason why I hate being on the council. But at the same time, I understand its necessity.
I understand that, but at the same time, though, you're telling me that one woman alone is going to overturn the vote of everybody else on the council.
I'm saying the one woman alone will put her little worms in each other's ears to make sure that the people that need influenced get the votes to go her way. As per usual. Now, at the moment, I have no real interest in this. As far as I'm concerned, you are 2 children and 1 lost in the spirit world. It genuinely does not bother me as to whether you succeed or fail or spend your life in a box. To be quite honest with you, it's all business to me.
Then why are we here?
Yes, if so, that doesn't bother me. Now, the situation is this, like, I certainly owe Merlin a favor and Baba Yaga a favor, and they have asked me to help you, which is the reason why I'm here. But be aware, I have no real interest in whether you succeed or fail or spend your life in a box. It literally means not one thing to me.
All right, so you're just like our last instructor. Got it.
I would like to think I'm slightly more
But then,
skillful.
No, you're pretty much the same.
Young Sesha. I appreciate that you are used to doing things the way that Baba Yaga does them. But do not be fooled that this is not the world that Baba Yaga once knew. There is trade, there is understanding, and there is certainly suffering. For you, people that you enjoy, the love, the cherishment, friends, perhaps, and I look over it now. Do not misunderstand my charity for a willingness to accept rudeness. Okay?
Understood.
right, so your actions are really contradicting themselves. You basically kidnap us here, threaten us, or at least, well, already one of us. I'm assuming you would do the same to me. Threaten us, but then again say that, it doesn't really interest you all that much. You don't care what would happen to us. But then again, you just said you owe Merlin and Baba Yaga a favor, so you're doing this for them either way. So, like, you're really... I don't know, it could just, it could just be me, and I look sideways to Sasha. I'm like, you're really contradicting yourself here right now.
There are other ways to repay favors.
Right. And if you want to do that...
Oh, would you like to fend for yourself?
I don't see why we need to fend anything here. So what's Guinevere gonna do? Get us to be home teached?
Manner of speaking, yes. However, it depends. Well, first of all, it seems that the pair of you have some description of friendship, even if you do bicker all the time. Then there's
Again,
Kira,
teenagers.
locked in the spirit world. And the situation is as it is. Like, do you care to be separated? To be spending the next century alone as Guinevere or one of her approved instructors, literally in potentially cases, beats in instruction into you? You've got to remember that Guinevere comes from a time of medieval practices where fear and strength ruled out. Has she surpassed those urges? Yes, of course she has. She now plays politics. She understands the revelry, but at the same time, she's still very angry, and I am all too aware that that anger can last quite a while. Now,
So,
if you
are
want
we
my help,
fear mongering from one woman, or what? What are we supposed to be doing then?
this is the predicament that you are in. The situation is this. As I said, owe favors. Merlin and Baba Yaga, they have done things for me in the past, and this is my time to potentially repay them. I can teach you, much better than Shelby can, for sure. But also, there is a potential of, well, a way to make amends to Guinevere, in which would potentially, well, if it succeeds, it will certainly mean that you don't have to worry about anything. In fact, if anything, I would say that Guinevere may even owe you a favor. I'm not promising anything, but it's a possibility. I, for one, would love the opportunity for Guinevere to owe me a boon, but at the same time, I am not that foolish to expect. I also don't know whether you can even succeed in the matter, but anyway.
But and Nell kind of looks at Sasha a bit hesitant, but then like again says, we literally didn't do anything. So this is yet again some fucking adult or higher up putting the blame on us for something we didn't do.
Yes? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you expect fairness in this world? Did you expect an understanding of the fact that this world would all be justified and that everything would be fair and
No,
people
I didn't
would
expect
understand the
that.
truth?
You know what? Because I'm not fucking stupid. But then I'll say, let fucking Guinevere come. Or I'll run away from her. I don't know.
Okay.
I know she's powerful. And I look to Sesha, like, for a reaction. I just say, like, I know she's powerful. But honestly, we're just supposed to lay down, roll over, and take this shit? We're supposed to fight for something we didn't do? For
No.
us freaking losing Kira? Like we wanted to, right? Of course fucking not. So we get to suffer for the loss and then we get to get the blame for it?
You are not the only ones that suffer the loss. Of course, Guinevere does as well. And let's not forget, Baba Yaga and Merlin will immediately be thinking of what it would be like to lose both of you. Don't worry, that was not a threat. I'm merely putting in perspective.
Valen, I gave you a message.
Yes, I have seen your message. I tell you what, let me give you an example, shall we, of what I can do. And if that can give you an example of the kind of power that I have, and understanding the kind of power that Guinevere has, it might put things a little bit into perspective, shall we say.
I heard Guinevere put the whole entire city of Atlantis in the water.
I couldn't possibly say.
Petra puts up his hand and says, "What about my patron?" The Baron. Do you have much involvement with him?
Who are you?
You know Petra. He was one of the kids who signed up. Who was put by his patron to be taught by Shelby. You remember, like, Sesha was a bit mean to him. Nell kind of stepped in the way, but he made you both, like, talk about it and work out your problems. You know, you all got closer after that. He was probably the most upset after Kira disappeared.
Don't creep up on us like that again. It's
I'm sorry.
scary how
I
easy
was-
we can forget that you're in the room when you're not speaking.
I know, I was just listening.
Anyway, and I turned to Rasputin. Anyway, I'm sure that you're very powerful, just like Guinevere, and you can do a lot. But that's not the thing I have an issue with here. I'm sure that you're honestly way more qualified than Shelby to be teaching us about everything. Honest to God. I just don't take people in powerful positions using that control over others to put the blame on them for something they didn't do.
Is that the reason why you seek power?
One, I don't seek power. And two, I seek power to... I just really contradicted myself there, and that was a blunder for me.
No, that's cool.
So I'll retake that.
Redo it. I don't seek power, but when I do...
I don't seek power. And I do what I do to make sure that no one else is put in a situation where blame is put on them for something they didn't do. I try to do things in a good nature, not because I've, like, lost touch with humanity or mortality or whatever it is you called it. I do it because I want to fucking help people and not push them into situations where they have to take the blame or they have to lose who they are.
Interesting perspective, for sure.
Yes, but then when you get older, then you end up becoming the person right across from this table. It
Potentially.
always happens. It always happens. That's just the way it always is, you know? Like
There isn't an
The-
always. in
yes, there's
this.
always there is. It's history repeating itself. There's always this false order, rule set or whatnot.
Petra puts up his hand.
Yes, Petra.
Mr. Rasputin, how long have the how long has the council been run by the people who are in charge now?
I would know this information, so I will give that information.
So around about 1,500 years or so at this
The
point.
current council, about 1,500 years.
They've
There or
been running
thereabouts.
things for a very, very long time, changing rules and whatnot ever so slightly. But they established the order and the rules, how everything goes down and all that kind of stuff, politics and whatnot. Always been this way, at least for a long while.
No. Do you remember when you tried to use your abilities and you weren't able to because Shelby had done something?
Yeah, the weird white room thing.
Yeah. I'm not saying that we should, accept things necessarily how they are all the time, but I mean, don't you think it's silly to, at the very least, be so confrontational with people who are so much more powerful than us? Isn't that a bad idea?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a bad idea.
look, I won't disagree to say that it's a bad idea, but still, I'd rather do that than lay over, show my belly, and say, yes, please, what else, please?
Oh, absolutely, but shouldn't you pick your battles?
Well,
mean,
I'm not.
Ah.
I mean, you've seen some of the things they can do.
And this is where we get to the crux of the matter. At the end of the day, do you want to get yourself powerful enough to make a difference? And be nice?
And lose
whether it'll work.
mortality.
I mean, that's the question. I mean, realistically speaking. At the end of the day, though history has painted me in a questionable light, I started as a healer. I was a priest, a man of God, a healer of people. That was where my Saphirs were hidden, in the mysteries of life and protection. And now here I am, as you so adequately put, with a rack of people in a warehouse. Now, I must admit that I have been tarnished by what the people have done to me over the past. As you say, history is written by the winners, and the winners certainly taught me a lesson or two, which may have tarnished my judgment, but yours, it is pure of heart, at least. But you will make no difference unless you learn how to get powerful and how to wield the powers that you have been blessed with. To a certain degree, at least. Whether young Sesha follows in the path of Baba Yaga is another question entirely. Baba Yaga has a very tumultuous past, to say the least. Sometimes the savior of all things, sometimes eating babies. The questions are endless. But so is the understanding of Baba Yaga. But you seem to have a pure heart, at least for now.
You're talking about Nell, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Pleasure,
Just
and
checking.
the nicest way possible. I don't think that Baba Yaga would have chosen a pupil of pure heart.
No. She'd probably eat it.
Knowing her, I wouldn't put it past her.
What changed for you?
Understanding the frailty of men. Now, I am not talking about their bodies, their minds, their spirits. Now, I can manipulate thoughts and understanding. As if we decide to do a lesson together, I will show you exactly how I do this. Whereas I am also very aware that the shouts of one passionate individual can sway a mob to do horrific things. Throughout history, there has been conquering. There has been swathes of men who have butchered other men. The cries of children. All because of what? Some religious icon has said that they should do it. Some leader of some country has said that they should do it. I myself, poisoned, stabbed, shot and hung. And that was only in one situation. Throughout that, I have also been hung several times, poisoned several times, was hung, drawn, and quartered once. That was less than ideal. Fortunately, I didn't get to the quartered bit. I managed to convince them that somebody else was me. When you see the toxicity of humanity, your empathy wanes. Now, who knows? Maybe you will be able to hold on to that humanity, the purity of the understanding, knowing that things can be better if people would only listen, if people would only take a moment to think before they acted. Who knows what the future holds? But I can absolutely guarantee it that you will fail miserably in your current state.
Isn't it?
Would we have
Because-
no chance against a member of the council, even together?
Would you like me to show you, Petra?
Why are we talking about taking out the council? It was just honestly.
You said we should put Guinevere in a box. I don't know what you're talking
To be fair,
I
the
was
two of
just
you just
toying
now
with it.
voiced that.
I was just toying with it. I wasn't actually thinking about doing it. I knew that it's absolutely impossible. I'm not in the realm of even being powerful enough to even attempt it. But it was just, mindless little musings. You're supposed to help us, correct?
I certainly can. Petra, what were you saying?
I'm just curious because it's hard to understand the difference between us, as we haven't really seen our patrons do much, really.
Well, I'll tell you what. How about I give you an example? And I'm going to go over to Petra
Yeah.
and put just my thumb on his head. And then I'm going to absorb all of the life force from him.
What happens is Petra, from the top of his head, just starts to granulate into sand, which starts to swirl and swirl around Rasputin in a very pretty, kind of colorful dance all around him, and then twirls in front of both of you and switches to a dragon, to a tiger, to a bed of magnificent flowers as it kind of goes past you, and then comes back in front of you and turns back into Petra for a second before just exploding in minuscule dust. And both of you realize that there's never been anyone existed that you know called Petra. All of the memories you have of him kind of fade as he does, and you realize that you've been talking to someone who doesn't exist.
A small example of the kind of things that people of my age can do. Never mind, over 1,000 years.
Hang
Did you just implant that person, whoever fake person, sand dust thing?
Indeed. I put the idea of Petra in your minds. The concept of the fact that you have once had a friend who you trained with. The patron of the patronage of Baron himself. Now, if I can do that with just your minds, the possibilities are quite literally endless. If you train, if you understand how it works, it's all possible. I mean, you yourself, Sesha, tried to do something quite extraordinary before you came here, did you not? With dire consequences, but with the right training, it was quite possible.
All right. Well, how do we know that you're not mind manipulating everything we see here?
You don't. But that begs the question, what is reality? If we're going to go existential about this, let's calm it down a little bit, shall we? The fact of the matter is that we as mages can manipulate things the way that other people cannot. Now, if you would have ever understood the concepts of all these different things, you look at the average person, you look at the man who wakes up and goes to his factory job and goes back and drinks a few pints and watches the football and enjoys his life. The things that you do are completely beyond his understanding. His reality is not your reality. The things that I can do with your brains, with your mind's eye, my reality can change your reality, just as your reality will eventually be able to change other people's reality with enough training and understanding of what it is that we do and how we do it. You understand?
No. But I'll say yes if we can stop talking about it.
Ah.
My head kind of hurts a little bit.
My brain hurts thinking about it.
This is always the scenario at the beginning. Don't you worry. I've spoken to many of your age, and it's very, very simple. The scenario is we can change perception. We can change what we deem to be real. Earlier on, you have seen the abilities of Kira being able to open up into the spirit world, yes? The spirit world is beyond the realms of conception for the vast majority of the mortal kind. But you understand its reality. Sesha, you yourself have played with Time and Fate, was it? The Fate Weaver, the spirits called you. You know?
I usually take, nicknames and all that stuff by people I don't know, not really seriously.
They
The fact of the matter is, you weave fate, right? What was that, Nell?
I'm just reminding Sasha that she should maybe be a little bit more concerned because they did threaten you.
They did.
There are a lot of people and things that have threatened me over the years, and I'm not really afraid of them.
No?
You kind of
Possibly
grow a
not.
little bit numb to it. My time will eventually come.
As I said before, jaded, which is completely understandable given the situation. Now, the question is, would you like to learn? And if I deem it that you are of adequate talent, as the other patrons seem to think you are on the council, then perhaps there is a chance. A chance for, maybe I should not say this. You know what, I will. I will trust you this once. A chance for you to get Kira back. But let's not lie, it does depend on how talented you really are. I'm not going to put this task, the concept of getting Kira back, in the hands of people that are not suitable for the job. The last thing I want is to get the venom of both Baba Yaga and Merlin, because I set you on a task that you were not ready for. Now, if it pays off, Guinevere will be happy. Happy with the fact that she managed to get her wonderful disciple back. Happy with the fact that you took the initiative to do it for yourself. Maybe even, and I daren't say it too often, but perhaps even impressed. I've spoken about it with your patrons that there may be an option, but I have not told them how. Because
Well, wouldn't it just be Guinevere? Who better to open the gate that we step in than the person who's most mad at us? Now that's tempting fate.
that certainly is tempting fate. I mean, like I said, I would happily sit with popcorn while you propose this idea to her.
I think going to the spirit realm would be kind of fun, Nell.
Interesting. Well, how about this? How about I give you a lesson? And after that lesson, we dictate whether the task ahead is within your means. If it's within your means, then perhaps that little wish might come true. Sesha looks enthusiastic. Nell, you look like you have a lot on your mind.
Let's take this for a moment, because I would like to, outside of the characters themselves, I'm curious how both Sesha and Nell are taking to recent events. Nell, how is she feeling about everything that's just gone in the past, little bit of the meeting?
I think Rasputin's last minute changed a lot for her. Because he's not being openly antagonistic per se. And it's kind of obvious that whilst he's saying a lot of bravado about it, oh, but I could just leave you out onto the streets like that and let you fight your own way, he's kind of saying more on the other side of like, it really seems like he's about 75% yes, I will help you, I want to help you. So she wasn't that worried about that. She's just, there's a really big anger inside of Nell at the fact that Guinevere is the only freaking person there that's supposed to be this all-powerful woman that has somewhat lost touch with mortality and humanity and whatnot. And for some reason, this all-powerful woman cannot find another solution to this situation than to put the fucking blame of Kira's disappearance on the shoulders of two students. And that frustrates Nell to an extent that is unimaginable.
Does it help Rasputin's case that he is technically opposed to Guinevere, at least on this council vote?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
The entire time in this office, every time Nell kind of got angry, it wasn't towards Rasputin.
Yeah.
It was towards Guinevere and the idea of how she thinks, how she acts, how people like her think and act. Because like Nell was honestly surprised when Rasputin talked about his origin. And seeing that the way he started, something happened and he shifted, but like Nell kind of understands him more now than she did the first time she saw the hangar of people and got really angry about that.
Yeah.
She doesn't necessarily need to 100% agree with his tactics because he is singling out weak people, easy to manipulate, and stuff like that. But on the other hand, he does not seem to. It's complicated. He does not seem to openly hurt them. He does send them into bad situations, but like on the other hand, they would also end up in bad situations without him probably. Yeah, it's a bit difficult. That's a bit ambiguous. But
there's also and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's also probably a small aspect of like, even if I don't like it, dude just created a person and I thought they existed for like 5 to 10 minutes. And
yeah, she was.
Yeah, like Nell hasn't had that much experience except for with Merlin and Shelby. Neither of them are that scary.
She was about to turn to Sesha and ask her if she was real.
Brilliant. Love that.
But yeah, no. So that's the whole thing. She's calmed down towards Rasputin and this whole thing because the guy is making sense and not showing to be such a bad person per se.
Yeah.
When compared to others, but yeah, the fact that he mentioned in the last minute that it was essentially about trying to help them to get back Kira might just make Nell agree to do this, not because of the whole Guinevere thing, but because they try to get her back.
The only other thing I can think of is it does also seem to be the best offer you've had for help to get Kira back.
Yeah,
and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like you guys don't have much of a plan past like let's do stuff and see if it breaks existence.
Let's try to punch with a glove and see if I can punch through the spirit realm instead of the veil is basically the plan up until this point.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think the weight of that is slowly settling in and she's like seeing his offer of help in another daylight than even when she first went to Shelby. Like the whole reason of why she would learn is different now.
Yeah. Sesha? How is Sesha feeling about all of this recent events?
She's pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
Even with like the little like, you know, semi passive aggressive threat about, you know, being rude and insulting the council members. She has a really, really big interest in going into the spirit world though. Like the spirit realm. And she now sees that this could be a chance to go in and experience it. She's really interested in what she can do there. Not who she can find. She doesn't really care about finding Kira.
I was about to say, is this more selfish than altruistic?
It's way more
Yeah,
selfish,
okay,
but she will play it as like a oh, we have to save her. We're doing, Guinevere a favor. Yes, I totally understand, Rasputin. Yes, we should do this. This would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
Let's go.
A tiny bit of extra information I can give you for you specifically, Sesha, is because you have a decent understanding of fate and the realm of fate, as it were. The only other person who has so many twisting possibilities in, let's call it, their aura has been Baba Yaga. The majority of people tend to have a few very strong possibilities as to ways they can go, different, and then maybe some other thin ones that are less important, much less likely. To give you an example, Shelby had a couple, like 2, nothing impressive. Nell and all the other, yeah, the same similar thing. Whereas Rasputin and Baba Yaga have like big threads that are like strong possibilities. Essentially, and I would say probably Sesha has this because she's probably seen Baba Yaga go a bit more over the top, let's say, as comparative to when Nell was with Merlin. Merlin isn't really much of a, let's do big things and start with a boom. Sesha probably has an idea of what a council member means in terms of like ability and power, and a little bit scary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see her being like, ooh, possibly, that type of thing a bit.
That's exactly what she's thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
As an outside thing, it's very interesting for Rasputin dealing with your 2 contradicting personalities.
The only other thing I'm wondering is, how did she feel about Petro? Because that's something that I'm not sure how she'd take that.
She didn't like it.
Yeah. Oh, of course she hid the fact that she didn't like it, right?
Yeah, she definitely hid the fact that she didn't like it. She felt extremely uncomfortable, and she now wants to know if Rasputin's doing it with something else.
Oh, okay. So she's
a little bit suspicious.
I'll take it as a note, and I'm assuming the same is true with Nell, that you are both extremely aware now and trying to look out for possible aberrations or anything in your memory.
This is the interesting thing about this entire dynamic, is both of them have had Merlin, who's a quirky old man, and Baba Yaga, who is a
eccentric,
peculiar individual. The pair of them have got very flamboyant and overt mentors, whereas Rasputin's just been like, here's something subtle. Here's something subtle that can fuck with everything, which is quite delightful to play.
which honestly, if we want, we can go into the council and the council members a little bit more. But it's very true of the newer members of the council that they're very subtle and they're very intelligent about what they do, compared to the older members, the founding members, who don't need to be. There is a power disparity between the kind of the tiers of members, and the newer ones are younger, they're not as powerful, and they have to be a bit more subtle.
Yep.
Have we spoken on the council much? I don't know whether Rasputin's gone into like the members.
No, I merely pointed out some of the members.
Okay.
I haven't talked about that. That's information.
It's true. All right. Sorry to delve into the characters' brains for a second, but there was a lot going on behind the scenes there.
Nell, you look like you have more on your mind.
For about the last 15 minutes, 20 minutes of us sitting in this room, nothing you said, well, almost nothing you said really got through to me. And that's not something on you, it's just me. But having the chance to get Kira back, that's something different than just going along with all of this and doing all of this because some crazy, powerful woman up on top decides that this is what she wants as a solution.
And here, we have our first lesson. Purpose. The understanding of exactly what it is that you want to do. It's all very well breaking through realms, breaking through reality, changing the dynamics of what exists, but if you have no clear purpose, it's merely a phase of imagination. It's like imagining an apple. You get the shape of it, but what of the leaf? What of the skin? What of the texture? What of the way it fades through reds and greens? If you do not have all of these things, you cannot create the apple. You understand? It's the purpose that drives us, the purpose that gives us what we need. Does that make more sense to you?
I'm not really good with not being direct, but what's your purpose?
I have many purposes, I'm afraid, young Mel. Right at this moment in time, my purpose is to pay back the boons that I owe your mentors. Now, at the moment, I'm quite like you as well. I think that you're plucky, you can be rude and direct at times, but at the end of the day, you are generally good kids. And I can see a great future for the pair of you. However, I don't want to see that taken away from you. So as much as I don't have the greatest investment like your mentors do, I do have an investment in making sure that you actually do well. You know? I want to make sure that you're both okay. Shall we have a lesson and see how we get on? Yes? Fantastic.
Yes, please.
Let us go to one of my conference rooms where there's a little more room. Greg, will you clear conference room A, please?
Were there racks in the conference room?
Yes, sir.
No, that was the warehouse. Don't you worry. Conference room was just full of tables. For when I have a conference. Clue is in the name. We're doing well. Wow. A reminder to self, make clear, not an evil villain. That will be fine. Right.
I mean,
Shall
honestly,
we?
where would the boundaries kind of be, you know? Like, you're putting people on hangers. Why keep yourself confined to only the storage room and not the... Yeah.
Well,
Let's
the
go.
reason why we're going to one of the conference rooms as opposed to the storage room, as you so quaintly put it, is purely down to the fact that I do not wish to injure any of the people that are on the racks, as you say. They are, at the end of the day, still people. And I like to make sure that they don't get injured even when they are in my service, you know? So, let us go to the conference room and see what we can do, you know?
Nell was kind of speechless at that, but she's happy that he gives an opportunity to not have to come out for it. So she'll start walking, not knowing where to go.
Lead them down the corridor to conference room A.
Okay.
Probably still being cleared by Greg.
Yes, she is picking up the last couple of chairs and just moving them out of the room into... There's kind of like a sliding door that has a little cupboard. She's like folding up the chairs and putting them in there. And as you come in, she says, Just about finished, sir.
Not a problem. Would you get Muscly Greg to come in for me? That would be wonderful.
Of course, sir. I'll go and retrieve him from the racks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Here we are. Nice clean space. Beautiful. I've just had it redone, but don't worry, it can be redone again. So we can go a little bit further out. You understand? Now, there are many different ways of doing, well, magic is probably the easiest way of describing this. There are spells, then there are rituals, there are artifacts that you get. But it all comes down to pretty much exactly the same thing. Purpose, aim, and understanding. You see? Knowing what it is that you want to achieve and then achieving it is the most important thing. So, as you can see here, I'll walk over to one of the walls and then make clear one of the wards that we have on the walls.
As you do, a almost like electronic looking kind of display like pops up. It's magical, but it looks like it should be in a sci-fi film. You know, it's one of those kind of and it's essentially what looks like a magic circle with lots of different kind of smaller magic circles kind of ringed around the edges with runes and all those type of things. And this is essentially your ward setup. So this building is warded. You've put on multiple layers of preventatives for magic. You are essentially able to turn off and turn on your wards through this interface. You're the only one who can use it. It'll essentially allow them, if they want, to utilize their magic, and we will say, for the sake of not making you come back to this repeatedly, you can turn them on and off as you like so that they can use their magic.
So right now, I will turn on these wards that will protect this room, protect the walls, protect the floor, make sure that no excess magic goes further out unless it is more powerful than mine, which I don't think it will be at this stage. And this should protect all of the people around us. And also protect us from being seen from the outside world, which naturally can be a bit of a problem. Now, as you saw earlier, I like the subtle magics. I like the subtle spheres of understanding. It's all about little things. But the key is still basically the same. Preparing an objective. Understanding its purpose and structure. Like, I don't know, baking a cake. Then you've got to gauge the power, understand the requirement of effort and the effectiveness that is needed to enact the spell itself, and then determine the means to trigger that spell.
Nothing you just said relates to making a cake.
Well, it's like ingredients.
No. I think I get it. I kind of understand it. You know, you have your ingredients and whatnot, which is, you know, myself and magic and materials around me, and what you can affect. And what you do is you basically have to follow the recipe, in a certain way, which is how we cast magic. And, because there's rules and all that and order and whatnot. And then when you apply it, you make, you start making the batter and whatnot. And then when, the cake is done, you essentially have done your spell. Am I understanding that correctly?
Exactly. Now,
have you never baked a cake before?
No, I have. The only difference is you actually use terms related to making a cake. He just said it's like making a cake, but then he didn't explain how.
I assumed you knew how to make cakes, and therefore it would... Oh, never mind. But, much like baking a cake, if you use the wrong heat, the cake goes awry. It's either too soft and gooey in the middle, or it becomes a rock-hard lump, Very similar for the amount of power and energy you use from yourself and your understanding of magic, whether you want to call it mana or the energy or whatever term you chose to use. And that way, you use too little, soft and squidgy and not very good. Use too much, rock hard, causes problems.
Like when I froze my arms and legs off.
Exactly. Now,
how did
swiftly
you fix
moving
that?
on. It's very similar in making a spell. Say that's like a cupcake, a little bun. Whereas a ritual would be like a proper cake. And the wards and the wards and circles and what have you. And then there's artifacts where you put basically the spell into an actual device or item, you know? Does this all make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay, let me give you an example. So, Greg, as you see here, big muscly individual, looks beautiful, aggressive, angry, kind of like troll, you know? Now, Greg, in a moment when I click my fingers, you will be very, very angry and trying to attack me. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, what I am going to do is teach you how the subtleties of my magic work so that you can understand better your magic. For I am not good at time and fate and whatever it is you do now.
Punching things.
Punching things.
I wink
Indeed.
at Nell and kind of like elbow her.
I'm sure that you will be great at taking on wonderful Greg, but let us do it my way for the time being so that you can understand the principle of the matter. You understand?
I wonder what happens if you could punch his head off.
I would be less than ideal, for I would have to pay his family his pension, and that is a lot of money.
Oh, he has a family. I mean,
Why would I
it depends.
punch
His pension was
He's
really.
a human.
Oh
We
yes,
can
sorry.
heal people.
Sorry. I keep yes.
He's
Sorry.
just a poor guy.
I'm sorry, Baba and puppets. You know, you'll have to forgive me. We
That's
play with
Do you
okay.
dolls and
see
stuff.
every human as a voodoo doll?
Oh gods, no, no. They're just the, the. Like I said, you're normally the target of the voodoo because
Shall we?
Yes.
There we go. So, Greg in a moment is going to attack me, and I'm going to try and repel that attack. So I just want him to move away. Now, there's multiple ways that I can do this. I can either dive into his mind and instill a fear that will make him run screaming away from me. But that is a lot of work. I have to break down his mind, break into his psyche, and plant something there that is a cause of fear so horrific that he will run screaming. A lot of power, a lot of energy, but the purpose is very clear. It, however, will take its toll on me. Or do something more subtle. Something catches his eye, and suddenly he is distracted and decides to move towards it instead of attacking me, like so. Greg.
Have you activated the anger?
Yes, I have. As I click my fingers, he activates.
As you click your fingers, Greg raises both of his hands in the air and says, "Greg, angry!" Rah! And starts charging towards you.
And I look directly at these two, like completely ignoring it. And just as soon as he gets here, I just wave my hand briefly in front of his face, and he is distracted by a plant pot that he's decided needs to just be broken.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
As you wave your hand, he pauses for a second. His fingers twitch. And then, you're not even there, he just spins and charges to the corner and just starts punching this plant pot, which shatters and some.
in this situation now, in this situation, Greg, stop. Thank you. Make such a racket. In this situation, I was very simple. Small amount of energy was required. All I did was distract him. I glazed across his surface thoughts, saw what he could see. He saw a plant pot in the corner, and then directed all of that anger away to the plant pot. Not very much energy for me. Quick repel, boom, done. Small magic is easy. Big magic, like changing the world, very, very hard. When I implanted Petra into your minds earlier, much harder. Well, the pair of you are already suspicious of me. Maybe it is because of the kidnapping, as you so called it. Maybe it's because of the fact that I have a horrible, horrible reputation throughout history. Maybe it's the fact that you just don't like me. But the fact of the matter is you were extremely suspicious. So I had to worm my way into your minds without being detected and plant the idea of Petra there. Much harder, much more exhausting. Fortunately, I very much like Earl Grey. Does this make more sense now? The idea of purpose, clearly understanding what it is that you want to do. Greg charges towards me. I want to deflect him. That is all I need. All I
So
need
it's
to do.
kind of like that one time when I thought I did. Nell,
Hmm?
Nell, I shut the door on you multiple times, right? You remember that, right? No, snapping doors.
Yeah. It's kind of
I did
your thing, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I. Never mind. I just wanted to confirm. I thought that, sorry. Random musings and all, but yeah, it's like when I was, snapping the door on Nell and it would shut. Really simple. Like
Oh.
that, right? But I use time.
To give a little bit more information. And Gregory, you like convey this to them, through similar as you have done.
Yes, please, Sheepy. Explain how the system actually works,
No,
that I can.
You did a very good job of explaining it. The way magic kind of works and how Rasputin has described it to you is that while you are able to manipulate reality, that's the very basis of being a mage, is the knowledge that reality, what's real, is manipulable. When you break it down to an atomic level, basically, that's what mages do. You're manipulating reality. The thing is that conceptually you need a way to do that still. Whether it be through runes, whether it be through voodoo dolls or curses or anything like that. You need something. You need to expend your power. You need to use it. You can't just snap your fingers and the world disappears. You can't move the sun around the earth. So when there's something you want to do, the power expended depends on what you want to do. So, for example, if Gregory was to attempt going into Greg's mind and messing with everything and looking all the way through it, he can, but that causes so much power to be expended compared to what he wants to do. So his idea instead is to deflect a very much quicker manipulation of the mind. Essentially, he just changes one thing. The anger's there, he changes it to a different thing. He changes the attention. He hasn't gotten rid of the anger, it's just changed. So when you're looking to make a spell, very often there are either shortcuts or a less powerful way of doing the same thing, which is one of the basics of mage, of being a mage. Now, when you come down to artifacts, for example, a magic wand. You've heard of them throughout history. Some of them have been legitimate, but it is very easy for a mage to essentially weave a spell and inscribe it in runes or writings or wrap it around an item, so a stick turns into something that can fire fireballs. Because the spell is there, and you just need to activate the spell. You don't need to expend any time or energy. similar for your own crafted spells. You know, you practice them enough, you prepare them, and you can just do them. Whereas when you're wanting to just manipulate reality on the fly, obviously you haven't practiced it, you're not prepared, it takes time, it takes energy, and so, for example, with Sesha, although, you know, obviously she doesn't 100% remember this quite, when she tried to manipulate time with an unfamiliar, fate and time with an unfamiliar spell that, you know, she got in her head, it backfired. She didn't spend enough energy, and she lost control of what it was she wanted to do. If you'd have done some studying, written down some, you know, prepared the spell, it'd be much easier for you to just boom do. Or the other option is, of course, to take time to prepare, you know, 20 minutes or so. You would be able to like gather that energy and be able to enact what you want to do.
But that would be different though, versus, you know, her instance of when she's rewinding time in a short, tiny burst of just rewinding it over and over again, because it's not affecting a large, enough space. It's affecting one object.
And there are levels to it as well. It's like how Sesha can affect the time around her, but she can't affect her time. She can't like turn back the time on her age, really. It's a much bigger thing to do. And well, the other thing that we didn't go into too much there, but if you want to do something massive, rituals, circles. You saw Gregory's wards. Those are like circles within circles that affect circles, and they're all connected up together. That's multiple spells all weaved into each other, and allows him to he can switch off the ability to use space magic, because he had someone with the abilities of space come in and ward the area and weave it into his essentially ward system.
Guess what the favor was that Grigori owes the other council members. Oh look, my building's warded against nearly everything.
And you know, you probably figured that out as your characters, but one of the benefits of being on the council is the most powerful mages possibly in existence do favors for each other. And if you have the most powerful space mage in existence ward your building, not many space mages are going to be able to mess with that, or any other supernatural entities. You know, if you don't want spirits or ghosts getting into your building, it's useful
See
to
a specialist.
Yeah.
Ghost Hunters International.
But yeah, so a few of the ideas Sesha had, and this would be something that Gregory would have, as he's explaining, would have come to Sesha, probably Nell as well, but I know Sesha had some very big ideas. You realize that some of your ideas there may not work as like an instant thing, but if you prepare and if you start drawing the circles, if you start writing the runes, or however you want to do it, could be that that you actually form like a pentagram with voodoo dolls, like inscribed with certain like older languages that are more mystical and more magical. It's all about how you trigger your brain into enacting things.
So use our earlier example, Sesha. You were trying to make a wedding cake using a microwave.
Well, more like a wedding cake out of an easy bake oven, I would say. You know what that is, right?
Fuck those things.
Kids
I
things,
know.
yes. One of those things. Does this make a little more sense to you now? The
Yes.
easier it is for reality and the people around you to believe it, the easier it is for the magic to come forth and the spell to take hold. If you wish to do stronger magic, it is likely you will need more components, rituals, etc. If you want to inscribe those components onto an item and make an artifact, which are very, very useful. There's your magic wands, your doorways to different realms, most of which have been destroyed now, but we'll talk about that later. It takes more time, it takes more energy because you're instilling energy into a place or into an item, whereas on the fly, spells, nice easy things, much easier. Trying to convince a human average person that somebody is conjuring a fireball out of your fingertips, much, much harder.
So, if I were to attempt to try what I had done again previously, without the easy bake oven, but more so an actual oven, would I then be able to stop time and fate around me and
Theoretically, yes. I'm not too well schooled on time and fate and what have you, but the fact of the matter is, it comes down to, as you say, the oven, the type of ritual that you do, the ingredients that you've involved in there, the implements that you might need for the ritual itself. But then you've also got the power level. Now, if your oven can only get to, 80, and you need it to be at 220, then it's still not going to work. So you build up your energy through your experience, through your understanding, through your education, and eventually you will be at a point where you can put the energy in to a situation that you will be able to potentially stop space and time.
what if... So I understand gaining the energy for yourself, right? But what if we had like a battery or some... Then Sasha will look at Nell. Some help. Someone
That's where
else's
your
energy.
artifacts come in. Or, alternately, other mages. You saw that I am able to transfer my energy to other mages. It's quite a simple task, to be quite honest.
There is also the some certain places for certain things can help you. For example, if you are a death mage, graveyards, places, battlefields, places like that, especially where it's thin on the veil, can help ease your abilities or even empower them. And yeah, same with artifacts. Like some artifacts would be like a magnifying glass with the sun. You know, the sun's rays are pretty warm and everything, but you can focus them. So some artifacts help with focus and help with empowering what you have.
The mind is a bit more complicated. You need to find people that are either very strong of mind or very weak of mind. But it is not all I can do. You saw with young Greg, who came to see you, the ability to grow tea and then have the tea deceased. All of which is possible. All you're doing is encouraging its natural progression. Shall we try some of yours? Would you like to try some magic yourself? I've done plenty and I could do with another cup of tea.
I feel a little bit more limber now that I can use my extremities.
As a sidebar, Greg is still like frozen in the corner, just like hovering over, punching a flower pot still.
Oh, I know. He's there unless one of these two need him, really.
Yeah.
Sasha will take the chair she was sitting, or take a chair, I guess, nearby. Is there? I'm assuming there's a chair.
There are in the little slide across bit where
she's
the other
gonna
Greg...
take it. She's gonna take it, and she's going to drag it by the back, like by the backrest, and she's just gonna drag it, and you just hear this.
Nell was muttering very softly, mulling over Rasputin's last sentence, which was that he said that the tea was deceased. and she just like was thinking like she was like the tea was deceased and stuff, but then like Sasha's noise will drag her out of that.
Excellent. All right. And she sits, she crosses her legs, and she takes her cane and rests it on her lap. Now, do I need like specific runes or what? I've never really, Baba never really, I'm not really saying Baba never really did, but I personally didn't really pay too much attention to runes. And in regards what they have to do with my ability of a fate and time.
Really depends on what it is you're trying to do.
Well, I'm trying to make like a little, like, your personal bubble, personal space and whatnot.
Okay. You've done this
to-
before, have you not?
Well, I mean, I've sped myself up, per se. Not extremely quick, but I'm trying to essentially, I guess, stop the time around me, which I've done before, but expand it a bit more where there's nothing.
Okay, so let us analyze for a moment what you're trying to do. You're trying to create a bubble of time manipulation, as it were. Now, the things within that bubble really matter. So,
There'll be nothing in the bubble. Not even fate can touch it.
Oh, you wish to try and make a void?
Something of that. It's almost like a bit of a bubble of limbo.
That is extremely hard magic, and that may take a little doing, to say the least. It theoretically is possible, but what you're trying to do is like you say, create a limbo where nothing can enter and nothing can leave? Is that...
But just, pretty small within myself,
Well, let's break it down. What is the purpose of this bubble?
It really doesn't have a purpose. I mean, like when I first thought about it, I wanted things to stop, but it more so was just, I'm curious.
Well, there is your immediate problem. You have no purpose. If you have no clear understanding of what the bubble is for, then how are you meant to make it happen?
All right. I would like to enact a spell so that fate can't touch me.
I am not well schooled in fate, but would that not end your own fate as well?
No, think of it as as a thread or a string.
I see.
I'm not exactly cutting it off. I'm more so, how do I put the words to it?
Aren't you hiding it?
To help a scooch? Stasis.
I'm also freezing it.
If they can't find your string.
It's not really like a scissor cutting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you take your finger and you pinch it. And it holds still for just a tiny little bit, like almost like, putting it in stasis. And then when you let go, the thread continues on.
And the purpose of this would be to avoid possibilities that are coming in your future, or like immediate possibilities, or further down the line possibilities?
Immediate possibilities. Because I want it to be only really sudden, Not going to be permanent.
Blending spheres is very difficult.
Too impossible.
You're talking about blending time and fate. Now, you may not be aware of this, but this is not something that is done quite regularly. Perhaps it's worth concentrating on one and the other, and then seeing once you've perfected those, whether you can actually blend them.
All right, I'll just start with how about a time bubble to freeze
Time bubble,
time
an
around me.
understanding. Now, when it comes to time, as I understand it, the idea of stopping something in time will be much more strenuous than slowing something down or speeding it up.
Exactly. I've done the speeding and the slowing down part. I want to see if I can stop it, which I know takes a little bit more.
Certainly does. Certainly does. Well, let's give it a go, shall we?
To throw in something for you, Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
Time, and this is based off your own application of magic. Time is a lot easier to stop if it's already slow. So, for your instruction to Sesha, if she was to create a field, create a circle that would slow time, it would allow her to slow it to the point where stopping it would not be a massive amount of energy. So all told, she'd spend a lot less energy and a lot less effort by slowing it first and then stopping it.
Let's talk about the reserves of energy. Slowing things down, then stopping, as opposed to immediate stop. As we talked earlier of the output. If a car is traveling at 60 miles an hour, it is much harder to brake than a car traveling at 20 miles an hour. You see?
So, you want me to slow the time down?
So if I get Greg over there to throw this chair at you, you will need to slow it down, and then at the point where it is slowed right down, you stop it. You think you can do this?
Well, I'm always one for trial and error. That's what Baba taught me.
Fantastic. Greg, pick up that chair and throw it at young Sasha.
Leans down, grabs the leg.
Right now?
Throws.
I will put my one hand up, cane in the other, and I will attempt to slow it.
Okay. Could you please roll me your time and your... oh, Lord. Sheepy has forgotten the name of the damn thing. Time and your gnosis, which is 5 d10, I believe. Okay. 1 success. It's good enough. It doesn't slow down that much, but it does slow down. It's essentially slowly, almost like an asteroid, you know, that kind of like tumbling over itself vibe, but it doesn't look like it's going very quickly because it's not.
As soon as I notice the slowing of it, I'm like, okay, now focus on the chair, nothing else, just the chair, and rise up that energy, rise up that magic. Keep it going, keep the power flowing.
When Rasputin is silent again, Noah will kind of jokingly, like to Sesha, but also mainly to herself, say like, look, it's like when I threw the chair at you.
That's true.
Yes, well, that chair was made of metal.
No talking, concentrate.
You blew that
Right.
shit to pieces.
So, one of the things you realize, Sesha, as you're doing this, is that even though you haven't slowed down the chair that much, like comparatively to how much you know you can, it gives you more time to slow it down more. So,
Okay.
please roll me time, the same 5d10, as you're doing the same thing, but you have the time to do it. And yeah, 3 successes. So you essentially, you already have that one manipulation there, which is holding it and slowing it. You just increase that so that it slows to the point where it's still moving. You can
Yes.
see it still exists in time. It isn't frozen, but it's moving so slowly that it may as well be frozen.
I would like to attempt to slow it even more. So, would I roll another?
Would you like? I mean, it's it's so slow to the point where it is barely perceptible to anyone but you that it's even moving.
But I know that it's still moving, right? And I want it to stop completely.
So you want to stop it.
I want to stop it completely. So would I roll my...
So, to stop time completely is to remove something from the flow of time.
Okay.
Doable, but you may need about 5 minutes to just, however you want to, essentially write down some circles or some runes or however Sesha, accentuates her power. So, it's essentially, it's that idea of, you're trying to do something bigger, so you need to lay the groundwork of your power.
On a chair?
To stop time.
Okay. All right.
But this would be something whereby the more you do it, the more you practice, and the more you learn it, that will become a spell. And
Okay.
there'll come a point where you can just stop time. At least for a chair, or for a,
It's like playing an instrument. The more you do it, the more naturally it comes. You understand?
But I've been stopping things forever now. Well, essentially slowing them anyways when Baba throw things at me, but...
And now you want to blend it with fate. How do you see fate?
Multiple threads leading out from one singular one. Like for you, for instance.
Me?
Yes,
Please do tell.
Your thread is extremely sturdy, but it's got many, many, many tiny ones sprouting from it, all different directions.
It makes me very happy. It makes me far less predictable for my enemies, I suppose. And
I can see them, but I can't really just, clip them or whatnot. Doesn't work that way.
how does it work? Fate magic is a mystery even to me, so perhaps the understanding of it might help me understand what it is that you aim to do.
Well,
is it that you can see the threads and see where they go, or can you
can see
manipulate them?
I can see the threads. I can't really manipulate them yet. Baba hasn't really elaborated too much on how I should go about that. I can essentially help guide you towards a better thread. And what thread that is, I don't know.
You can accentuate or diminish. So if there's like 2 threads, one is like, oh, I'm going to go to the shops today, or I'm going to take a shower. You can increase the likelihood of going to the shops. You can additionally tack on little bits and pieces, like increase the likelihood of getting hit by a bus if you want.
It's the magic of probability.
Exactly.
Very useful in certain circumstances, for sure. Especially in something like business. You could say whether a merger would happen or whether somebody would choose to go on their own. But, an interesting concept. And you wish to nip the bud of time. Interesting.
I wouldn't really
thought.
say nip it. I would say possibly pause it.
I have a thought for this one, Sesho. So I'll essentially run it by you as an idea you have as to how to realize what you want to do on a magical kind of ritual level. If you create 2 different kind of voodoo dolls, let's say, the kind of straw dolls that you always have. You imbue one with some power of fate, one with some power of time from yourself. Set them down in a kind of very vague ritual circle. It may not even need any runes or anything like that, depending on how ritualistic and kind of like lettery Sesha is herself. And then you can destroy both. which would essentially trigger that power of basically getting rid of both time and fate at the same time, and then focus that spell, that ritual that you're making, into the chair. It should sever the chair from both time and from fate. Now, if you want to, sever it from time only, that's something that's a bit more easy, something that you can essentially, build up some power and probably take you a few minutes, and then you can probably achieve it. But that's the thought that you have in regards to how you would kind of trigger this severing, this spell.
I left all my voodoo dolls at home.
Oh, don't worry, I have one here. And I hand you the one that you gave Greg.
Oh, thank you. I will... Since the chair is pretty much almost at a standstill.
Moved very slightly.
Very, very tiny.
1 minute on the clock kind of movement.
I will attempt to infuse time into it.
Okay.
Into the doll. And I will... Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll actually, seeing as you've done a couple of time rolls, I'll, go off the previous rolls and say, yes, basically, you don't do anything to the time of the doll, but you kind of infuse the straw, you infuse the essence of it with time, with your ability to manipulate time.
All right. And I will then attempt to... I will kneel down on the ground, essentially in front of the chair. Or almost kind of try to get it a little under it, but a little bit ahead of it because it's still kind of moving.
Yeah.
I will snap my fingers. Chalk. Blood. Oil. Ink. Something I can use. Anything?
You expect me to get something for you?
No, not you, Greg.
Nell is already... The wards are down, right?
No,
I'm about to draw them, but I'm asking...
Yeah. I just want to know if I can use the little portal.
Is the space ward down, allowing Nell to use space?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, in fact, to be quite honest, you probably saw me turn it on.
Yeah, turn it
Just
on and look at you yeah,
just
that's
gonna
right.
put those space wards around this entire room so that you're all aware.
So no one sees this, but in the background you have Nell probably sat down at some point here, probably just taking a cup of tea that was there and just sitting there watching all of this, kind of stressing out, the feeling you have before you have to do a presentation in class, and you're fuck, I don't know what I'm gonna do, fuck. So that, and then when Sasha asks that, we see her in the background, just her hand going through the air, but nothing happening. Going
just
and just lowering it down.
Additionally, Gregory, you receive a query essentially that is retrieve, and then a long list of all the implements that Sesha listed, and then Y/N ?
I've been so focused on what Sesha is doing because Rasputin's very quizzical about the other spheres of magic, and what other people can do, and what kind of things are you trying to retrieve?
Writing implements, I guess.
Yeah, something she can write runes really quickly, like chalk.
Wait.
She's chalk.
No, I'm asking
blood.
Nell what she's trying to retrieve.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't know, I'm confused as well. Sheepy, the inquiry he gets is from Greg.
From Greg, yeah.
Oh right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
no,
it's
in
not-
that case,
That's just
two different things. I was
Yeah. He thought
what,
it
I'm
was
getting
me trying to.
sorry.
an inventory of a portal here, and I'm
Yeah.
what is going on?
You would get the notification of an attempt to manipulate space, but
which does like I'm very focused, but there is a moment where I look over.
You just
Nell,
see Nell nod looking at you guys, just like
Oh,
her
yeah.
hand,
I just look over
going
and
like this.
I just smile. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, okay. Get to you in a moment. Um, yeah, I'll say yeah. Get like a whiteboard marker or something is probably closest.
Okay.
Something like that from one of the desks.
Yeah, essentially you hear some crashing as he's still in like anger mode. Essentially, he's just during that he's like raw, and he like stomps out the room and then comes stomping back in with like some chalk and some like permanent markers. But raw, and then like angrily thrusts it at you, Sesha, and like holds them out in front of you with like thunder on his brow.
I would like to point out there was a big moment of pause there where Rasputin was like, what will she do if she doesn't get these? Like just out of pure interest as to whether she'd like start pricking her own finger and writing her own blood or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, do you know what? I'll give it this one.
She so would.
Question. I was about to say, question, Sheepy. Is blood magic stronger than
blood can help some things. Very ritualistic, and like if you going back into especially if you start to research older spells from
the old magics,
the older mages, blood was very often a component, but you know, things have changed, modern days have moved on, but it's still, yes, it can help.
Cool, yeah, give her a whiteboard marker and some chalk or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so she starts because the whole thing is like, I guess she is knowledgeable with runes that, you know, Baba has taught her.
Oh, yeah.
So she will be, you know, she'll draw a circle and she'll start, you know, it looks like chicken scratch, by the way. These runes look extremely illegible to everybody but herself. Because it looks really bad.
Very often, without research, or especially the notes from a mage, the circles and the rituals can be very indecipherable because it's all about the person enacting it and what they believe and how they think. So it's much less down to getting it exactly right than getting it exactly right for you.
Yeah. So she does that and she kind of tosses the chalk, puts the voodoo doll in the center of it, and she turns and looks at Gregory. You wouldn't happen to have a knife, would you?
Always. Why?
Could I have it?
Color me intrigued. I'll just pull out a knife. Classic sort of, just literally, just always have one. There you go.
It's a dagger. It's a little bit like, it's got like a wave kind of curve to it as it goes up.
Thank you. I'll be giving this back, by the way.
I'm glad.
She kind of walks over and she kneels back down and she like puts her hands, both of her hands, holding the dagger, and she's gonna really, really focus, like super, super hard on basically destroying this voodoo doll that contains her time magic in it. And she's gonna wait for the chair to go like literally like right above where she can kind of like see it like right above the circle, and then she will stab it.
As you stab it, and as the knife goes in to the voodoo doll, to this straw man, you get a picture of Kira being dragged off into the spirit realm, and a small flash in your own head of inspiration. part of the way you enact your magic, part of the way you do big things, is through sacrifice. It is how you see the world. It's how you see it's how you see essentially the transfer of energy. It's how the world makes sense to you. You can't do big things without sacrifice. There must be a price. There must be a toll, and you sacrifice not only the doll but the magic you had put in there. And even though it doesn't really change much for anyone else, you can tell that chair is out of the flow of time.
It doesn't move.
It doesn't move. It won't get older. It won't rot. It won't be able to do anything. It is just there. In the midst of being thrown forever.
Did you do it?
Point.
After that vision, she will open her eyes a little bit in disbelief, but then quickly put her poker face back on. Calm and cool and collected, not unbothered. She will stand up and she will poke it.
As you get to the point where you would touch it, there's not really a barrier, but just more of a you kind of
like
stop.
a coating, like a coating almost.
Yeah. I would say before you get to it, there's like a faint kind of buzzing tingle, and you realize through your ability to manipulate time and stuff like that you probably shouldn't put living flesh into so like it's part in and part out of a void of time. That might do strange things. Like you wouldn't want the tip of your finger frozen in time while the rest continues to age, for example.
Yeah.
Did you do it?
I'm not going to touch it. I don't think you should either, but I think I did. I mean, you could look at it right now. It's not moving.
It didn't seem to be moving to me before, so
It was definitely moving before.
Okay, so how do we reverse it?
Oh,
How do you
what?
put this back into time?
That one's simple enough for you. You can just end the spell.
Why would I want to end it, though?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Go over to the little comm panel. Shit, what's he called? Julia, can you cancel all meetings for conference room A, please? And when you get the opportunity, lock the doors and make sure no one enters.
Yes, sir.
Can't have a floating chair when I'm doing meetings. God damn it.
Oh, you have meetings in here? This is like your...
Yes, this is a business.
Oh,
What
It's a
part of you
conference
not?
room.
It's a conference room. Conference room A.
oh. I mean, it could be an icebreaker, talking to... All right, fine. She snaps her fingers.
And then the runs, and I'm going to assume that before you did that, you stood out the way of the trajectory. Because the chair just goes woo, 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 and then smashes on the wall.
Well, dramatic, but I appreciate it. Julia, cancel everything I just said.
Yes, sir. I'm going to give a little bit extra to Nell. Because you've been sitting there, because you've been involved in this whole process. However, not directly, just as an observer. One of the things that you think is that given the state that Sesha put it into, you could still see the potential force, the throw that caused the chair to go. If the situation was there again, you think you would very possibly be able to either manipulate or essentially siphon the force causing that chair to be thrown, so that if it was unfrozen, it would just fall because it wouldn't be subject to the initial pressure of throwing, the force of that. Just as a, you know, like, I would say that's probably more of an idle thought for you as opposed to something where you're like, oh my god, but you know.
Fantastic, Sasha. Very impressive. I've not expected such things. I knew the time manipulation, fate is a bit more elusive because of, well, how elusive it is. But generally speaking, that was genuine, quite impressive. Nell, would you like a go at your talents, should we say?
It's that exact, as I said before, expression where you ask a student who was like thinking about, oh no, like when you're in English class and you have to read a line and you're like constantly preparing for it, but you're not prepared when they actually ask you to do it. So she kind of like looks up.
I haven't studied.
Basically. Like she had an entire half an hour to think about what she would do, and she like when she's put on the spot, she's like, fuck. So she'll look up, kind of stand up, brush off her legs, and just say like, I mean, I can't right now, right?
Oh, you were trying to get something?
Yeah, I was trying to help Sesha.
Was that all? You were trying to be a little teapot? I'm not entirely sure, but I can. Oh, let me think about this.
Sesha asked for ink or whatever. I was gonna get it for her.
Oh, look at that! Like a team working together. I appreciate that. Now that's very, very good. Do you need those whatever it is implements to do whatever it is you would like to demonstrate or try? Or this isn't a test. I'm just trying to understand where your levels are. You know.
I mean, no, I'm not gonna use ink or anything. But if I can't use space magic, then I can't really do anything in that sphere, can I?
You should be able to use space magic within the room, but it just depends. Like, are you trying to teleport, or you just can't go out of the room? It protects us all from everything out there as well.
Oh, and she looks at the what was it that Sesha used for to write?
Right,
There's
Chalk
and a couple of
Yeah.
permanent markers.
Oh, so she's like, oh, all right, makes sense. And then she like just tries to take the chalk, assuming that because it's in the same room, it can work. So like a little hazy oval, hand-sized opens next to her, next to the chalk. Just like takes it. She's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Now, it is interesting that you would choose to do that. Very, very clearly putting your hand into a portal and taking the chalk from the floor. Now, you may find it a little easier if you are doing something less observant. Reality is based on the senses of the people around it. For example, I'll take one of the pens and I'll put it in my pocket. And I'll be like, now, do exactly the same again, but this time hide the portal. So put your hand in a plant pot. Put your hand in your own pocket, but your hand actually comes out in my pocket, and try and take the pen from my pocket. And see how you feel in regards to the mana, the energy that you exert.
This would remain within the spell ability. But it would be it would essentially be, I would say, also dependent on your let's have a look here. So you don't need to cast this spell, but it would be dexterity and subterfuge.
If you
Sorry.
make a portal into my spleen, there's going to be issues.
It would be dexterity and it would be dexterity and stealth.
Oops, this looks like it belongs inside of you.
Oh, there it is. Oh,
Oh god, 2 years. We flash forward 2 years in the future, and Nell is a surgeon.
I finally
Perfect.
got my education in.
Take the appendix right out.
Yeah. But yeah. So dexterity and stealth would be 2 and 3, so 5 d10.
5d10. Alright. The only thing in Nell's mind right now is that this feels way too much like a magic trick.
Mm.
does she say that out loud?
No. She just, I think it's a thought in her head. She kind of just like giggles like when she does it.
If you pull out a white rabbit,
Oh God. Can
mine
I?
is
No,
elsewhere, and suddenly you pull out a
I
white rabbit.
can't.
I'm like,
Yeah, I'm tempted to, but I can't because I can't get things from my side of the room apparently.
yeah, it's true. I don't
So
have any white rabbits in the room, I'm afraid.
so if that wasn't the case, I would totally try it. There you go.
Okay, 2 successes. Yeah, it's enough. Seeing as it's essentially a test. Yeah, you just go over the pocket. Just slip your hand in. Your hand doesn't disappear because it essentially disappears into your pocket. There's no visual, like aberration there, essentially. And your hand essentially comes out in Gregory's pocket. You feel the pen, you grab it, and you remove it. I would say at best, Gregory, you maybe feel like your jacket moved or something, but
Yeah.
aside from that, there's no.
Just a hint of something. There
Yeah.
you see.
For funsies' sake, is there something else in Gregory's pocket?
Good question.
That would be a question for Gregory.
We find out.
I
Hold on
dread
2 seconds.
Dread to think what there could be. Like you pull out like an acid spitting lizard, just like.
No, there is not.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
I rolled a D percentile just to see if there was going to be something in there.
Nell does that. Throughout the entire thing, kind of still holding back a smile or a laugh. She does that, and then she comes out of her pocket with the pen and just says, "Look, it's a magic trick."
Ah, yes, but you see, this is where it gets very, very interesting. All of that illusion that magicians do. Oh, the fantastic, I will pull a white rabbit out of the hat. Now, in earlier days, that was there to get the audience to believe it. And when an audience believes that it expects to see a white rabbit come out of that hat, it makes the entire spell far easier to do. Because belief has a powerful part in what it is that we do. You see? Much like subterfuge and stealth, as you did there, it's easier for you to put your hand in your own pocket and try and take something from mine because no one can see what it is that you're doing. Whereas, if you did it out in the open, everyone's going to be completely confounded as where did their hand go? Why is it over there? I don't understand. Whereas now it's the subtleties. Much easier to manipulate, much easier to understand for the average person. No one's going to be grabbing torches and pitchforks in order to burn you at the stake. You understand?
Gregory's past traumas come out a little bit.
There was that one time in the 70s where I took lots of drugs and the song Ra Ra Rasputin came out. It was very traumatic for me.
Very surreal.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
It's the understanding of drugs, you see. Perception, altering things with chemicals. Chemicals alter perception. Perception changes the way that human mortals view the world, and that makes magic far easier. Unfortunately, the downside is questionable 70s disco hits.
For the sake of just essentially, there's maybe a few things we need to cover. I'm going to like move time forward a little bit, and I don't need a spell for it or a circle. I just have that power. But no. One thing I'll ask is essentially Rasputin is going to help both of you with some of the nuances of spells and your abilities, etc. Are you both, as characters and as players, you know, are you both kind of feeling the understanding of spells, etc., like how they go and everything? Past that, I have a couple of questions. Would either of you want more instruction on the world of mages? Would either of you ask questions of Rasputin about the Council of Mages or anything that he might have information on? I mean, he did go into it earlier, so I would say
Yeah.
if your curiosity is there and you're interested in asking.
Yeah, while we do like a series of exercises, and at the end when everyone's knackered because they've spent loads of magic and stuff like that, we're like, okay.
Question answer time. Because it essentially, I don't really feel it's something we need to go into in terms of like, in terms of like playing out the scene. But if you'd like a little bit more information on the Council of Mages, or you know, obviously I'll ask if Rasputin would tell them, but I can give you a little bit of information on that stuff as well if you'd like.
For one, Nell would really not.
No?
At this point, she would not ask about the whole council and then that whole structure thing. I think there's like one thing in her mind that Nell like kind of wants to ask Rasputin, but she's not gonna do that right now because she feels like it's kind of personal and stuff like that. So like that might happen when they say goodbye or something like that. But
Sasha? Is she? Are either of them curious on like who they are?
I feel like she is. I mean, I feel like she is kind of curious who they are, but because the only ones that she's heard of really are like, you know, like the ones that Baba has had like close relations with favor-wise, which would be like, you know, Merlin or
the
Morgan. She's heard of Guinevere through some of Baba's rants, I'm sure.
Yeah.
She hadn't really heard too much about Rasputin, but like the rest of it, the rest of the people she doesn't really know super well.
You'd have probably heard Baba complaining about Gregory, but not Rasputin, because essentially Baba is the one who found and recruited him to the council. They go way back. And as
the best and the worst way.
Yeah, as a very slight sidebar, Gregory's probably always been a little bit curious as to whether she played any part in his inverted commas downfall or public downfall, because she does like to mess with those strings of fate.
I was such a good boy. I was a healer, and then suddenly my fate was changed.
Okay, well, in that case, I will tell you the names of the members of the council, and that only. So I won't give you any other information about them. The founders are Merlin, Guinevere, Art, Morgan, and Maud. The older members who joined basically in the second, let's call it the second founding, were Baba Yaga, Baron, Abe, and Cleopatra. And the newer members, the ones who joined in the last couple hundred years, are Rasputin, Theo, Cora, and Alistair. There are 13 of them.
Okay.
In total. And one thing you'll obviously notice, and whether you read into the names or not is down to you. I can tell you that they're all historic figures, essentially. The founders appear to be members of the Round Table, or quite a few of them do at least.
You are certainly part of the legend.
So, the only other thing I believe Rasputin wants to talk about is the help, the help to get to Kira.
I see now that, yes, you are very talented, and the urge to manipulate multiple spheres and blend them together is remarkable, to say the least. It is not something that is commonly done, so be aware of that when you are doing your personal practices. As you are very well aware, some of us are manipulators and not always for your benefit, okay? Like, this is just games of politics. Be aware of this, okay? The real question I have to ask then is, how badly do you wish to get Kira back, visit the spirit world, and, well, the benefits there obviously are getting Kira back, going through the spirit world. It is dangerous in and of itself, but it is a potential possibility. You appease things with Guinevere. There are a lot of benefits, but please be aware of the cons. It is not an easy task. It would have to be very, very secret, because I'm aware of a way, but I can guarantee that it would not sit well with many members of the council, which is why they turn to me, because they know that I can do things so long as they don't know about it. You know, like parents that are like, I don't want to know, I'm your parent. Very, very similar situation. But you have to be aware that it is potentially very dangerous, both in the searching of the items that you will need and the final ritual itself.
I mean, we want to get her back, right, Sasha?
Oh, yes, of course. We desperately want her back. Honestly, I can't really see, myself continuing my mage education without our fellow classmate, really. Our friend. She was always the soft one that almost like the glue that kept us together.
Sasha,
It's
just for a moment, you're like, wait, was she the soft one? And you're like, yeah, she was the soft one.
Well, if that's what you want to do, then I am confident in it. But please be aware that this is dangerous. It needs to be top secret, because, I don't want to get it in the neck myself, but also it could, like I said, it's very much like parents who don't want to know about the certain activities of their children, But I will make sure that you are as prepared as I possibly can, and we will see if we can solve this, okay? Now, bear with me while I check my notes here.
You're
a small book.
You're a businessman, right?
I most certainly am, yes.
You could most likely get, what was it called again? Like one of those artifacts, perhaps, with some spirit magic in it.
Do you not think I have tried? Not for your purposes, but for my own. Unfortunately, over 200 years, I have gained a bit of a reputation for being a very self-important businessman. When dealing with people like yourself, I see the potential. I see the joys that you can bring to your own future, but also to mine. Being good friends with powerful mages is always worthwhile. Whereas when you're dealing with some of the older generation, especially when like you've got much older mages that are not part of the council, or dealing with people outside of the council's realm and what have you, it gets very complicated, politics and what have you, which you don't have to deal with at this stage. I have certainly tried, because hell, if I could make this easier for you, I would. Mainly because, like I said, I want to get rid of these favors that I owe to Merlin and Baba Yaga.
But
Okay.
you can't.
No. I can tell you where they are, and I can tell you where to get them. You've got to understand that I am a member of the council. Therefore, if I go into certain areas, for example, let us take... For example, there is an older graveyard on the outskirts of a city that I have the map to. I will give you the map and what have you. A pair of armored gloves there that will allow forceful but safe opening of a passage into the spirit realm. That graveyard is owned by somebody slightly outside the council. And if I were to turn up and barter for it or what have you, it becomes a diplomatic incident. Whereas if you were to turn up and happen to get them, no fault on the council, they will be happy that they are no longer in the possession of this particular individual. And it's not a big diplomatic incident. After all, you are two students, are you not? You see the politics here. Trust me, if there was any other way, I would do it. Not for your reasons, but for my own. For who wouldn't want gloves that can traverse the spirit realm? Let's not lie about this. Would you like to hear more then?
Would you like to know more?
Sorry, I just find it funny that it's a convenience. Never mind. Don't watch me. Sasha.
Hmm?
Nell looks downstruck for a moment. She's like, "You're supposed to help me out here.
Oh,
I was
yes.
diverting attention to you."
Oh, hi.
Subtle.
What am I? I've never been one to pick up on certain social cues. You know.
Please
Hanging out with-
enlighten us more, Rasputin.
Oh, no. This isn't something you need to worry about. Like I said, the actual task in gathering the items is more of a political issue than anything else. Dangerous, but political more than anything else. It's not like these people are gonna lynch you or anything like that. That's way old, and it will take far too much politics. Plus, these people will be aware that you are the students of council members. That in itself makes it a diplomatic incident. You understand? If they should touch you. Whereas if I were to go, big issues. So first, as I mentioned, a pair of armored gloves that allow you to forcefully but safely open passage into the spirit realm. They are located in an older graveyard on the outskirts of a city. I will give you the maps. Don't you worry about it.
For the sake of exact locations, just assume that Rasputin gives you the exact locations.
Yeah.
The notes don't go into them, so.
There is an ancient compass that allows you to find somebody across the planes of existence. That will be the exact thing that helps you get to Kira herself. That's in an abandoned farm at the other side of the world. Again, I will have all of this information for you. We'll create a dossier or whatever it is you would like to call it. And then there is a lantern that is used to light the way and open the path that travel in the spirit realm. For the spirit realm is a maze. And it is very easy to get lost there. And also very easy to get tempted by things that are not quite real. That's located deep in the forests, inside a cave in a mountain, in this realm of the world. Now, one thing that I do have as a sign of good faith is I personally have one of the implements, and I am prepared to give it to you.
But
What makes you think there is a but?
you just said that the council members all deal in favors. And you're a
They certainly
businessman.
do. They certainly do.
What benefit do you have or do you gain from giving us such an item for free without a string attached?
Well, I could go into talking about how, if it would help me with my boons with Merlin and Baba Yaga. It would help me with various different pieces of the puzzle, the politics and what have you. But the fact of the matter is I'm all too aware of what hangs over this. So my price, and my absolute price for helping you this, is that should anything come of this, you keep my name out of it. This is all very top secret. I have spoken about it with Shelby. Shelby is very aware of the plan. But I do not want the ramifications of putting you on this path. As I said, it is dangerous, coming up and getting all kinds of political debates. You can say that you've met me, by all means, but sending you down this route would be problematic for me politically. Deal?
I mean, you're not responsible for us taking the steps towards this.
Exactly how I feel about it. I'm glad that we see eye to eye.
Deal. We never met you. I don't even know who you are.
I mean, we did meet. He just told you don't need to go that far.
Couldn't you
Well,
just, wait
here-
a second. Couldn't you just, if you really wanted to protect yourself, couldn't you just, do a little bit of that mind magic and remove that little
Oh, most
detail that you
certainly.
gave it to us?
But not necessarily on the council. The council are the ones that I would personally be in trouble with, and it would be a slap on the wrist. It wouldn't be anything, but I'd just rather avoid the issues there. There are certain members of the council I am already with bad favor, and I cannot be bothered with the extra drama of it. Plus, it helps you, and I like you.
All right.
Come through to Julia. Julia, will you? There's a red folder in my office, in the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet. Could you bring it to me? Yes, the one with the strange golden symbols. You don't need to worry about them. Just bring it through to conference room A, please. Thank you.
Of course, sir.
This is a scroll that will help you place a protective layer of wards on yourselves, allowing you to travel safe in the maelstrom of the spirit world. It will protect you as beings within the spirit world. Now, you've got to understand that this is something that I would ideally like back once you have done your task. It took me a great amount of situations to be able to come by this. Okay?
Noted.
Nell?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that there's always a possibility that things get broken in such a dangerous task.
There most certainly is. And if that's the case, then I can imagine I'll find a way for you to repay me.
Mm-hmm.
So we would be owing you a favor.
Only if you break the scroll. There.
Noted.
Julia, there you are.
Scrolls brought in. And laid
Fantastic,
out.
thank you. I will give it to... Which one of you is safer? Nell, you
I
have the
look at Nell.
portals, don't you?
I can put it away somewhere safe. I mean, not in this room.
No, that's fine. As soon as I turn the wards off, you can do as you see fit. I will place it with you for safekeeping. You will not presumably need it, hopefully, until the point where you are doing the ritual itself anyway, but consider it a sign of my good faith in both of you. Okay?
Thanks.
You're very, very welcome. Now, You have got one piece of the puzzle. There are 3 remaining. I have given you the times. Here is a folder with all of the maps that you will need of the various different areas that you will be traversing. I would advise you to keep as much secret as possible. If you come across other mages, tell them you're doing an errand for insert some name, preferably not Greg. I'm very well associated with the word Greg. And
What about Guinevere?
oh, well, that would certainly cause more political issues. Probably not worth. I tell you
It was
what,
a
you
joke.
could say that you were doing it for either Cleo or the Baron. They are known to dabble outside of things, so that could possibly work. You know?
All right.
Fantastic.
And
I
think
will
we
have.
should, if we are in question of mentioning the Baron or Cleo, what could we say to help establish more, believable circumstances?
Or just blame it on Shelby.
That is
just
also a possibility,
Say
but
that we're doing
Yeah,
an
that's
errand for
true.
Shelby.
that, to be fair, the way that Shelby is known by the few that do know him, that would actually be quite understandable, to be fair.
It doesn't
Yeah,
put us
that
in a bad
actually-
book with any council members.
That is also true. Less entertainment for me, but I understand your purposes.
I
Well, with
kind of
that,
knew
I
what you
will,
were getting at.
I will have Greg drive you back to Shelby's house, if that is okay with you. Yes, fantastic. We'll walk out the door and walk down towards like the lobby area. Call Greg. Hello there, Greg from the racks, to
Right.
jump back in his mystery machine and take them back.
Right you are, sir.
And as we get to the door, well, good luck, adieu, and just so you're aware, I will make sure that Alfie is returned to you tomorrow. Okay?
As he says that, you remember Alfie. Everything that happened, the confrontation, the fights, the fact that you two both kind of dislike each other more than you remember. The fact that Alfie has been there the entire time throughout learning and everything. It's bizarre for a second that you forgot her at all.
Don't worry, all of my reasons will become clear. She just needs a little tutelage on certain things. Her nerves are fried with all of the excitement, and I didn't want to put any extra pressure. Anyway, Greg, please kindly take these young ladies back to their home. And
Wait, so to help Alvi with her whole mental, what's it not, have you decided to make it so that, Nell and I completely forgot her and completely ignored her?
yes. Do you understand the amount of pressure that you two put on her?
Huh.
You are not only her friends, but she aspires to be approved by you. Think about it. How many times has she been very, very stressed about the pair of you? The situations you're in, either through worry or through animosity, anger, by taking you out of that situation.
She just doesn't like me, that's it. She just doesn't like me, that's it. The thing with Beta, she just doesn't like me, that's it.
Because you kind of made her not like you.
Either way,
also because you're there to white knight her the whole time.
The
And
fact
then
of
we
the
end up
matter
doing
is-
we end up doing this thing that you're doing right now, which is Becca.
ladies, the fact of the matter is, there was pressure there. By taking her away from you, we took away from the pressure, and she was able to concentrate on her magic all the more. Now, there's a couple of things that I just need to iron out with her. She'll be with you by the morning to join you on your wild adventure, okay?
So,
I suppose.
ladies, if you'd like,
Fine.
I will take you home.
Gregory, bake them some cookies and have some fun with them, all right?
Right you
Board
are,
games
sir.
or whatever it is that you people do. I've got business to attend to.
Of course.
Good
sir.
luck to you.
I hope you both like snakes and ladders. And he gets into the car and
We're outside of the building, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Does Rasputin actually turn around to walk away?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the little yes, though it's the lesson has only happened today. A little portal opens up and a hand tugs the back of his jacket.
Wool?
Not that.
Wasn't
It's just
expecting this.
it's just a little tug to like when you don't want like still have something to say to someone.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So you feel that tug. And Nell goes, "Are we free to visit here?"
By all means. I am very busy with businesses, but would like to consider myself your friend. Both of your patrons know that you have been to visit me. They are very aware that I have aimed to help instruct you and help you with your studies, especially as Shelby is a little preoccupied at the moment. I do not have any secrets there. If you would like to come join, the only secret that we have is the adventure you set forth on.
I won't apologize for being blunt, but I kind of want to know what happened to you where it went wrong for you so that I can make sure it doesn't happen to me. Some other day, of course.
No, it's quite okay. You've got to understand that with a life like mine, it is not one thing that happens to you. It is many. It is like the waves eroding on a cliff. The cliff can stand strong, depending on the rock that it is made of. But the waves will keep battering against it. And eventually, that cliff will crumble. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't redemption. I'm not saying that there isn't the possibility of pushing forward with power. But remember that power corrupts. And it is only you and your own morality that will ever stop that fall from happening. I like to think that even in my old age, I've maintained some morals. As I said, my employees, though they believe that they work in a factory and spend most of the day on a rack, they are well looked after. They are kept safe. Does it mean that some of them sometimes get hurt in the line of duty of their work? Yes, sometimes it does. Sometimes it is a struggle to care as life gets on and the frailty of mortality happens to be. When you live for up to 1,000 years, you can only imagine how quickly 50, 60 will pass by. Merlin, Art, Morgana, all of them. Baba Yaga especially, God knows. They have been alive for a century, 2 centuries, who knows? It is hard to understand the passage of time, like the life of an ant lasts a few days. The mayfly, 24 hours. What is 24 hours to a person that lives for 70 years? What is 70 years to a person that lives for 1,000? It's perspective, and it is hard to hold on to. But if you steadfast, remind yourselves of the beauties of life, and perhaps there is hope for your dream, in that golden heart of yours. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, sort of. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
perhaps when this little adventure is over, we can all go for a nice cup of tea in a cafe somewhere and talk about it some more. After all, I have no intention of dying soon, and I would like to think that neither do you two.
And there's a third one that doesn't intend on
Exactly.
dying soon.
To be quite honest with you, let's extend it out even further and say you four. But Kira is still alive somewhere in the spirit world. Also, probably worth looking into what happened to her fox.
You're meaning to tell us that still escaped?
I'm saying that that had nothing to do with me, so I genuinely have no clue.
Fuck. And I turn and I start walking to that man.
Okay. And as Greg gives you a lift back to Shelby's house, technically speaking, either school or home currently, we will end there for today. As you go back to reunite with Sesha, who did not exist for a large portion.
You mean Alfie?
Alfie.
Sorry, Alfie.
I was like, what?
As I would?
Sesha existed for the entirety of this.
Ugh.
So,
To open a couple of buttons. Good lord, it's warm in here.
yeah. Thank you. That was a lot of fun today. And before we get into outros for everyone, I just want to say, like, I want to highlight how well you all reacted to the surprise random kid who was Petra, who was just there. I didn't plan it with Valen. I was like, I have an idea of how we could fuck with them. This could be fun. So very well done, all three of you, for that one.
I just got a message just being like, I've got an idea. Can we run with it? And I was like, yes.
And I saw your face, Valen, when you realized what I was doing, and you were like, oh, evil bastard.
All right, let's see how it goes. All right.
So, yes, feel free to talk about whatever you want. Of course, promote yourself. But also, if you ever had any thoughts on the show, let us start with the person who we will be losing next week. Grigory Rasputin, and also...
Also, hello there, I'm Greg. I miss Greg.
Yeah.
It's a rare scenario that I get to play a bit of a bumbly individual. But yeah, thank you very much for having me. First of all, it's been an absolute pleasure to torment your players and make them question so much. We very nearly went into existential crisis earlier on. I was on a right little flow about what is reality. I mean, really, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? This is what the questions we need to. I was
Did
like, you know what?
Rasputin make us think it happened?
Yeah, I was just like, I'm just gonna nip this in the bud before I get carried away with shit.
The flat heart rate beeping was happening in Nell's mind when you started talking about the existential dread and like reality. It was just like,
I saw you just go, oh, and I was just like, here we fucking go. Let's go. This is fun. But yeah, it was really good. It was really good to not only play a bit of a bumbling idiot, but also play a historical figure of such strange repute. Because like going through like all the Wikipedia stuff to learn a bit of his backstory and like learn that he was like super charismatic and a healer, but then he turned out to be like the big villain. And it's like, well, okay, well, what is the arc there? What is the reason why he turned into or has the reputation as he does? Is he still charismatic? Does he still give a fuck? All that shit. That was really fun to play with.
I just want to say I really enjoy how you played Rasputin in this. And
Thank you very much.
I really like him, but when you deep him, like when you go deep onto what he's doing, he's basically a fucking hive mind.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's that whole
It's so
being like
creepy and wrong.
It is proper creepy and wrong, and it's that whole idea of like, oh yeah, well, I'm super charismatic and I'm a healer. I like the morality of stuff, but my morality has been corrupted over 2 centuries, and I'm like, I'd rather have a rack of people that I can manipulate as I see fit.
Yeah.
But I'll look after them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those, such a weird scenario. He sees these people like a wardrobe of clothing, but he just looks after it really nicely. Do you know what I mean? It's such a strange dynamic. But fun nonetheless. But yeah, thank you very much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate playing with these wonderful human beings, and of course, Vashni last week. I'm Valen Vane, Vane by name, Vane by nature. You can find me on most social media at Valen Vane. I stream usually on Monday nights about this time, and then Tuesdays and Wednesdays during the day at 1 p.m. BST, and then Thursday nights at 8 p.m. BST. And yeah, we do all kinds of bits and interesting things. Just be aware that if you do come over to my channel, I am a colossal filth wizard, and therefore, if there's something filthy to talk about, we will probably talk about it. So just mind yourself. It's probably the best way I can describe it.
And
but yeah,
if you don't go and check it out, it's the rack for you.
It's the rack for you. Perfect.
If he ever comes back, there'll just be like a bar called the Rack, and he'll be tending bar there. Hot potato it to your choice, really.
Okay, I'm gonna hot potato it over to Nell. Wonderful Syrinx.
What's up? Today was interesting. Especially because you said it, the duality of Rasputin, where he had like the good nature to start off, but then it's like, it's so wrong. I went into it in character where it was like the whole concept, the idea of what you're doing is so wrong.
Yeah.
Because you're basically taking the like most manipulative, like easy to manipulate, weak people down on their luck who have like no reason to say no. You basically take them because you know they're easy targets and you take them in, but then you're like, oh, but I treat them well, they're human beings, but still they're puppets to me and I can like do whatever I want with them, but like they're their own person, you know, just not when I don't want them to be their own person.
Yeah.
It's got a little deal with a devil vibe to it, where it's like sell me 7 years and I'll give you a comfortable life, kind of.
Yeah.
Oof.
Which was like so interesting and difficult to like grasp around for Nell, because she's like, okay, but this is wrong, but then she's like, the moment he constantly kept saying like, oh, but what else will I do, like just leave them on the street, and she's like, yeah, no, I don't know, fuck. But yeah, it was really fun.
Just before you go any further, can I also just say it was genuinely an absolute pleasure, specifically because of the 2 types of characters that you play, because of the way that you play those characters. Like Nell is like super ethical but sticking it to the man, but also like I'm doing this because fuck those guys, because those guys got power and the power actually really fucks people up, but I need power to be able to do it, but I really have, like, you genuinely have like a little heart of gold, whereas like then trying to work with you whilst also trying to work with Sesha, and like who genuinely could not give less of a fuck about anybody apart from themselves. Like just like I want to be able, well, as soon as you started going on about freezing fate, and I was just like, what weird ass schemes are you planning? This is next level. What? And like being able to like talk about the different things in order to tempt you both to do the work that I needed you to do, because that's what the other council members have asked me to pick up while Shelby's busy and shit like that. And I was just like, fucking hell, this is a bit of an interesting dynamic. Let's see how this goes. But yeah, no, carry on. I just wanted to get that in there because it was really cool to play with that dynamic.
I think that's also really the difference between how we both made our characters, where I have 2 like magic spheres that are like fairly physical and out in the open, whereas Sasha has like 2 magical spheres that are very vague and conceptualized and stuff.
Yeah.
So like it works that she has lots of things going on in the background that she's like scheming, and they'll just like says it all and just like is out in the open with it.
Great. It's really cool to see.
And especially goddamn, the moment you brought up the fact that like the moment it became clear and I said to you that like, oh, it's basically Guinevere trying to put the blame on us for something we didn't do, like especially that small moment coming in, because that's the one thing that would trigger Nell the very most, is getting something horrible blamed on her while she didn't do anything, and like basically not being in a power position to stop any of it.
Yeah.
Like that's just the essence, the reason why she tries to do good. So yeah. It was great. Thank you, Valen. I'm Syrinx. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as such, and I just play lots of TTRPGs. And that's basically it. So I will hot potato it over to my better friend this session. Possibly better friend in the future now that we've had a little bonding experience.
Yeah.
We'll see. To Cat.
Well, we'll see. That was really fun. I actually enjoyed it. I was like, oh my gosh, this will be kind of different because Alfie will not exist in our memories. How are we going to like react? And there were a couple blips where Sasha was like, wait a second. It's a little foggy, but I could have sworn no, it was probably just foggy.
Yeah.
But really interesting to have like essentially an epiphany of like, if I want stronger magic, I use sacrifices, because that's extremely accurate, and that would be extremely in her character, because she is willing to do pretty much whatever it takes in order to achieve her goals. She's very driven. And though she has these comrades that have become, somewhat close to, maybe not as close as they are to each other, she still, in the back of her head, still has those motives and those schemes and plans.
Does that also answer the question you were asking a little like an episode or 2 back about the sword and Kira?
No, because Kira's still, because I thought it was established that Kira's technically still alive because she's connected through the doll, and my sword didn't actually kill anybody. Well, it killed the 2. Well, no, it didn't even kill them, because that wasn't her target.
So to do for you to enact or to bring to realization something very, very powerful, Sesha has to sacrifice something. And so if her fate is already sealed, as it were, the sword would have no effect on her.
Okay, so she was essentially a sacrifice.
That's yeah.
Oh, that penny drop.
I thought you realized when I said, you realized that your magic is really brought about.
No, I was just excited for sacrificing, because it's just so within her. It's so within her.
Okay. I thought the penny had dropped, and you were
No, I was
oh.
like, wow, sacrificing, for Sesha, this is totally up her alley. This is perfect. And then now I realize. Oh.
So you gotta wonder what exactly you made happen with that big a sacrifice. I wonder what's deep down inside Sesha's heart, what she wants.
Look, and it was bad that I punched a hole in the veil, but look at Miss here having huge sacrifices for shit she doesn't even know happened.
Yeah, she doesn't even understand, she can't even fathom, or she doesn't even know the ginormous oh no, or what she did. She's just trying to be cool and collected, you know, with her poker face and everything. You know, I'm getting control. I know a bunch of stuff, and no, it's like she's like, this is fine, and everything's like burning all on fire. This is fine. I got this.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
I loved Rasputin. I loved it, especially the whole using people like thing. Sasha related it to like dolls, which I mean technically they are more than dolls, they're actually people, but like the act of them basically working and then being hung up for her reminded her of like Baba and all of her dolls. And so she's like, oh yeah, it's like dolls, you know. They're just, you know, not made of straw and burlap. They're just made of flesh and, you know, soft stuff on the inside.
Squishies.
Squishy bits.
Squishy bits on the inside.
Yeah. Did you say where we can find you?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm Kat. I'm a creative and variety derp caster on Twitch. So you can find me at I'm Kat on Twitch, and I'm Cat on Twitter. And yeah, we are currently playing Cult of the Lamb. So fitting, right?
Perfect. Getting into the vibe.
Exactly. And so yeah, you can find me there. And if you want some chaotic, you know, gaming, that's where you can go.
Hell yeah. And hello, I'm Sheepdog. I run the Wandering Inn. Patron, if you want to support the show, if you want to see more shows, there's always more ideas up in this silly little brain up here. And of course the proceeds, let's call them proceeds. My brain was like, I'm not sure that's the right word, but the earnings from your support directly go into paying the cost and into making the shows not eat into my wallet, basically, which is nice. Hopefully, as time goes, we'll be able to add in more shows and to do more things. I have a lot of ideas. Twitter and also Discord if you want to be notified. Links are down below on both the stream and on YouTube. Additionally, with links to all of these lovely and fine people as well. And I just want to say that honestly, my favorite bit about this whole episode, except for maybe being able to mess with you guys again in weird and wonderful ways, where you may notice when I did the intro, I didn't mention Alfie at all. Like, she didn't exist when I was doing the intro. And talking about like what happened last week and all of those things. I even took her out of the overlay for this episode. It was a lot of fun to do. As well as bringing in Petra and just confusing everyone for a hot second where it was like, who the fuck is this guy? The thing I really enjoyed was the nuance, which you guys both played amazingly, of now that Alfie's gone, we're not as antagonist. Like, it was so subtle, but I noticed it the entire way through, where you weren't arguing, you weren't bickering, you didn't dislike each other the same way, and because it was just the two of you, you're kind of more bonded in a weird way, where it was like, we don't have anyone else, we're in this together, like, we have to work together. It was really cool.
It's just because Alfie was the catalyst. Like, you know, she definitely brings out the I don't want to say the worst in both of us, but a lot more animosity and stuff.
It's the dynamic. The pair of you would get on with Alfie perfectly fine if the other person wasn't there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the dynamic of all three of you, it creates animosity, which is really interesting to see. Because it's one of them things. It's like, if there was just Alfie and Nell, or just Alfie and Kat and Sesha, you would probably get on fine in one dynamic or another. But because it's all three of you, it's that different moral boundary that is real interesting to see from an outside point of view, and
it's really
from
cool.
an inside fuck with your point of view. Like,
So, I will say, as always, thank you, Kat and Syrinx, but a special thank you to Valen, because
thank you.
Like, we've had you on before, as I've said, but I haven't got to GM you before. And it was so fun to, like, both your and my brains being like, ooh, let's do this.
Yeah, it was so good.
At some point, I will have to have you on doing something for an entire season of a show I'm GMing, because I want.
We can sort it. You know, I'll be on it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm there. I will hopefully sort something towards the end of this so that Rasputin can come and see what you've actually been up to and what have you.
Oh yeah.
Have tea and biscuits.
Tea and biscuits.
Yeah.
Have that check-in at the coffee shop. Do you know what I mean?
We do definitely have one more guest planned, but I will not spoil that yet. I'll just mention that it's going to happen so everyone gets excited. And I will say thank you for watching, everyone. It is a lot of fun to be doing Mage. I'm really enjoying it, and it's so vast and kind of like, it's a difficult one to wrestle with because it's so abstract, and there's like, especially the way I'm doing it, there's no like solid rules where it's like, this is how you do this. You have to stand 5 meters away and roll this many successes. So I appreciate you guys all going along with it, and I hope it's fun for everyone like watching and you guys playing.
Very fun. Thank you, Sheepy, for putting
Yes.
this all together. Of course.
Thank you much, Lee.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly finish on
Yeah.
the next question you're going to have is whether Alfie was there all along or whether you were just told that Alfie was there all along.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out next week. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next week.